Part 32. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 311. Qin Benjao nodded happily. Suddenly, she stood on tiptoes, offered her red lips, and lightly touched Suliang's lips. Immediately, Qin Benjao didn't seem to notice anyone watching around her, and continued to lean into her man's arms without paying attention. She chuckled and said happily, "Sulang, you're the best. Let's go, let's go." Looking at this scene, although they had known about the relationship between Suliang and Qin Benjao for a long time, the disciples who were coming and going still stood there, looking heartbroken. "No, how can senior sister Qin have a man? Senior sister Qin is mine. Senior brother Su, how can you be with senior sister Qin? Senior brother Su, junior sister is still waiting for your confession. Although I have long known that senior brother Su and senior sister Qin are Taoist couples, I don't know why, but when I saw this scene, I wanted to cry. My senior brother Su, my senior sister Qin. Look, senior brother Su and senior sister Qin are so happy. They are such a match made in heaven. We should bless them. We must bless them." But despite the words, the person who said these words shed tears unconsciously. All in all, seeing Suliang and Qin Benjao dating and sticking up in the sect like no one else was around, the Tiandao sect disciples who admired them felt their hearts would be broken. At the same time, Tan Kinja felt heartbroken. Traitor, traitor, why can you be so honest with Liang, and why should I restrain myself?" Tan Kinja stood aside, watching her man being led around by her traitor, and she was so jealous that she almost wanted to bite her hand. And just then, as if sensing Master's gaze, Qin Benjao suddenly stopped, turned to look at Tan Kinja's position, smiled and waved her hand. "Master, my disciple is going to take Sulang on a date, Master. In the sect, be your sect master. Say it." Qin Benjao took Suliang and left without looking back. "Aha!" Tan Kinja bit her sleeve hard, trying not to speak. She felt that if she didn't control it now, she would probably scold herself to death as a traitor. This traitor is just showing off to herself, showing off that she can date a Liang, Tai Tai. He has obviously taken such a big advantage, but he still dares to show off like this in front of his master. This traitor is really bullying others. At the sect meeting, Tan Kinja sat at the head of the table, and a group of elders and deacons gathered below, all with serious faces. "Ahem, today's meeting is mainly to discuss how our Tiandao sect, the next stockings business, and the ready-to-wear business that is about to start a war will develop." Tan Kinja's expression was cold and majestic, and she returned to the mode of the cold sect leader, presiding over the overall situation on the stage and discussing the next development of Tiandao sect. However, next to Tan Kinja, the positions of Suliang and Qin Benjao. Qin Benjao looked around with her beautiful eyes and saw that everyone was staring at the master on the stage with serious expressions, but the master was not looking at her. She became bolder. After giving her man a wink, Qin Benjao quietly slid down from her chair, regardless of whether her man understood her wink. "That's right. It's the slide that makes you stick to the chair but slide down very smoothly and comfortably." The true body protection separated Qin Benjao from the ground. Immediately, Qin Benjao stood up slowly, moved quietly, and after a few breaths, she was in front of her man. Next moment, Qin Benjao held her man's arm with both hands, and with a slight exertion, she rose into the air, only 1 meter above the ground, and then quickly fell down, landing very accurately and smoothly in her man's arms. Hey, Sulang's arms are so comfortable. Sitting on her man's lap, the tall and compact crushing giant sword behind her rubbed against her. She stretched her arms and hugged her man's neck, with her little head resting on his chest. Qin Benjao huddled in Suliang's arms and rubbed against her. Rubbing, showing a happy and comfortable smile. Sulang. Qin Benjao murmured softly, I really want to stay in your arms like this and never come down again. Okay, then I won't come down. Suliang looked at his girlfriend with eyes full of doting. Tan Kinja, who was in the main seat, saw this scene exactly. This moment. Tan Kinja clenched her hands tightly, gritted her silver teeth, her body trembled slightly, her breath began to leak out uncontrollably, and even the words she wanted to say were somewhat difficult to say. This traitor makes me so angry. I am so angry that my teeth are itching for my teacher. I am in charge of the overall situation here, but you, a traitor, still dare to sit in your man's arms and show off your affection in the audience. Wow, traitor, you simply don't take my master seriously. The more you think about it, the more angry you become. The more you take a step back, the more you lose. There is no need to endure it anymore. Disciple, you have finally exhausted your master's patience with you. In the morning, Suliang had just woken up and raised his hand to put aside his girlfriend, who was sleeping soundly on top of him. Boom! The giant sword was unsheathed and the cold dew flowed back. After Suliang tidied his girlfriend away from the cold frost in the valley, he covered his girlfriend with a quilt. Then he quietly got up and walked outside to stretch his muscles. But at this moment, Tan Kinja came over with a piece of paper in her hand. She first walked into the room and placed the paper beside Qin Benjao's bed. Then, she took Suliang's hand and went straight to Zone. He walked out the door and said, Come on, Aoyang, go out with your sister to solve the business problems of our Tiandao section. Blinking, Suliang was a little confused. Problem? Is it a very troublesome thing? No trouble, it'll be fine soon. Tan Kinja shook her head, with an inexplicable smile on her face. Hearing this, Suliang blinked and asked, Sister and I are the only ones going? How about we take Benjao with us? At this time, the inexplicable smile on Tan Kinja's face grew stronger, and she shook her head repeatedly, Whatever you ask her to do, let her sleep well. It's just a small matter, the two of us can solve it. Just kidding, haven't you, the traitor, stimulated you enough these days? Finally, I have a reason and excuse to take my man out on a date and have fun, how can I still call this traitor? Rebel, please go away, Aoyang is mine alone. However, Suliang was a little worried and asked, But, is it okay if we leave Benjao alone in the sect? Oh, what's the good thing? We're just going for a while and then come back. Maybe we'll be back before she wakes up, so there's no need to call her. How can I let her interrupt my date and play with Aoyang again? Just get out of here, all the rebels. And, just to go out for a moment? How could I not let the rebels see me and Aoyang all day long? Just let Benjao watch me and Aoyang go out on a date, and be envious by yourself. What, you said this is a bit sorry for Yaoer. Ask me if my conscience hurts? Stop making trouble, there is no conscience for a teacher when it comes to Yaoer. My idiot apprentice is naturally for sale. As soon as she thought of this, Tan Kinja burst into laughter. There was unspeakable evil and evil in her smile. Seeing his sister like this, although Suliang didn't know what happened, he sighed in his heart. Finally, the cold and charming queen sister I once was is gone forever. Taking Suliang Fei up to the sky and quickly leaving the sect, Tan Kinja laughed heartily. All in all, this time, he finally vented his anger and avenged the previous stimulation by his apprentice. She is now looking forward to what her traitor's face will look like when she wakes up and finds out that her man has been abducted by her. After a long time, Qin Benjao woke up from her dream, subconsciously opened her arms and moved to the side, wanting to hug her man. However, this hug was empty. At the same time, the satisfying feeling of harmony in the deep valley also disappeared. Qin Benjao opened her eyes and looked at her side in confusion, where is Sulang? Why isn't he here? She sat up with support and rubbed her still blurry eyes. Then, Qin Benjao saw the well-folded letter next to her pillow. Picking up the letter and glancing at it, Qin Benjao's eyes turned red, her mouth pursed, looking aggrieved and resentful. There was not much written on the letter paper. It probably told Qin Benjao that Suliang was taken away to deal with business problems, and the letter was signed by Tan Kinja. Looking horizontally and vertically, Qin Benjao could only see 3 words on the letter. Trafficking letter. Master, you actually kidnapped my Sulang, and you only left me a kidnapping letter. This is a provocation, a provocation. Qin Benjao muttered to herself, her tone full of resentment and grievance, huh, you don't even take me with you, you are a bad master, I hate you. Outside Luoshui city, a sword light flashed in the sky. Immediately afterwards, Suliang and Tan Kinja stepped down from the sword light, cast a spell to hide their existence and faces, and then walked into the city. Our destination this time is Luoshui city. While walking, Tan Kinja explained to Suliang, our Tiandao sect seems to have swallowed a batch of goods in Luoshui city. I have found out that this matter was done by the Chen family, so we need to do it now. Go to Chen's house to collect debts. The Chen family, a secular gentry family. Suliang raised his brows, and then he felt dumbfounded, a mere secular family, even if they have immortal cultivators at home, dare to swallow the goods of our Tiandao sect, are they crazy? To be fair, not to mention Tiandao sect, which is now backed by 2 major sects, even if Tiandao sect, which used to be a small sect, wanted to take away the goods, the royal families would not dare to stop it, let alone embezzle it. But now, a mere secular family dares to swallow the goods of Tiandao section. This feeling is really a bit subtle. These people are not looking for death this way. After all, our business is booming now, and the wealth is exciting. Tan Kinja took it as a matter of course. What's more, these wealthy gentry families are domineering in a city and are used to being domineering, so they become a little bold. At this point, Tan Kinja stopped, turned around, looked at the door of the house beside her, and said softly, "We're here, this is the Chen family." Chen's home. After being taken to the living room by servants of the Chen family, Suliang and Tan Kinja drank tea and chatted. After waiting for nearly half an hour, a graceful and beautiful woman came out. The little girl, the head of the Chen family, pays homage to 2 immortals. After the beautiful woman bowed to Suliang and Tan Kinja, she asked doubtfully, "Why did the 2 immortals come to my Chen family? You, the Chen family, have swallowed a batch of goods from our Tiandao section. As the head of the Tiandao sect, I naturally should pay you a visit." Tan Kinja's voice was calm, cold, and dignified, and she once again returned to the cold and charming sect leader mode. Hearing this, the beautiful woman pretended to be horrified and stepped back, her face pale. Then she pretended to be pitiful and said solemnly, "2 immortals, please wait a moment. The little lady doesn't know about this matter. We need to investigate. How about asking the little lady from the immortal wrong to go investigate and give the 2 immortals a reply?" Hearing this, Tan Kinja and Suliang looked at each other and immediately understood the plan of the head of the Chen family. It's nothing more than dragging the word. This kind of strategy may be useful for Patriarch Chen to deal with secular forces, but for us, Patriarch Chen's move is a bit too contemptuous of us. Suliang shook his head with a smile. He didn't feel much anger in his heart, but he just felt that the Chen family was really brave. Next to Suliang, Tan Kinja didn't talk nonsense to the Chen family at all. She just looked at Suliang and said, "Liang, come on, let them hand over our goods willingly. I am completely regarded as a thug by my sister." Suliang shook his head helplessly. To be reasonable, being treated as a thug against a secular family, this feeling is still a bit subtle. Take action. There is always a feeling of bullying. Don't take action. The Chen family is indeed very courageous, and they really should be taught a lesson to scare the monkeys, so that others who come after them will not dare to mess around. After all, it's my sister's request. It's okay to pamper my woman a little, so I just agreed. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 312. Although I was still a little reluctant, there was nothing I could do. Forget it, just take action once. Thinking in his mind, Suliang tapped his fingers lightly on the table, making a thumping sound. The sound was very soft, but strangely, the people present, especially the Chen family, felt that the sound seemed to be ringing in their ears, like a bell, which was breathtaking and shocking. Volume 1 # Chapter 289 Promising a lifelong life under the marriage tree. Gradually, everyone in the Chen family was surprised to find that their heartbeats were gradually being driven by the sound of Suliang banging on the table, and the frequency became the same. Next moment, Suliang's fingers suddenly stopped, and soon after, the heartbeats of everyone in the Chen family suddenly stopped. But before everyone in the Chen family could panic, Suliang's aura of immortality suddenly poured out. Moment. Boom. The coercion of the immortal realm oppressed the entire Chen family. The tables and chairs in the room were shattered instantly. Even the house itself was crumbling, making a tooth-piercing trembling sound. Everyone in the Chen family is even more miserable. The moment Suliang's coercion appeared, all the Chen family members couldn't hold on. They were suppressed and fell to the ground. Their bodies couldn't even tremble. Many people were drooling uncontrollably, their eyes rolled up, and their consciousness was blurred. The look in Suliang's eyes was full of horror. And this is just the result of Suliang leaking a little bit of insignificant coercion. Among this group of Chen family members, only the head of the Chen family, the beautiful woman, was less pressured by Suliang, allowing her to remain conscious. Two immortals, the Chen family, have realized that I was wrong. I will return the goods of the Gaixian section. I will also provide training that satisfies the immortal. I only ask the immortal to spare my life. The head of the Chen family has long been unable to show off his acting skills. He is crying and begging for mercy. Where is the graceful and elegant look from before? At this moment, she was really afraid of Suliang and Tan Kinja. Suliang just sat there and leaked a little bit of his breath, but they were already so unbearable. If Suliang really made a move, wouldn't they die violently in an instant? Is this the horror of the immortal sect? If I had known this, I would not have dared to provoke the immortal sect even if there were huge benefits. After solving the problem, Suliang and Tan Kinja left the Chen family directly. With the power of one person, you can use the pressure of immortality to intimidate a wealthy and gentry family. Yang, you are very strong. Tan Kinja held Suliang's arm and walked on the road, unable to help but laugh. Sister, please stop laughing at me. Suliang shook his head helplessly. If you hadn't asked me to take action, how could I have taken action to bully ordinary people? Sister, you have to bear the blame. Seeing Suliang's helpless look, Tan Kinja covered her mouth and smiled, and then said, Yang, you have helped my sister a lot this time and solved a big trouble for her. Well, my sister plans to give you a treat. Hearing this, Suliang's eyes immediately lit up. How do you want to reward me, sister? Well, to be fair, I really should reward him. After all, if I hadn't taken action, one day in the future, when the news comes out that the leader of the Tiandao sect has taken action to bully the secular gentry family, let's see how you can behave, sister. Tan Kinja rolled her beautiful eyes, smiled softly, and approached Suliang. Her voice was extremely soft. Is it a reward to go on a date with a big sister like me? It should, not count. You and I can do things like dating at any time. Sister, is it a bit too much for you to use this as a reward? Suliang subconsciously wanted to refute, but after thinking about it, if he really refuted it, he might die miserably, so he finally gave up, nodded, and looked excited. Forget it, forget it. Ah, of course, I'm looking forward to dating my sister. I don't know if she really didn't notice Sul Yang's strangeness, or maybe she didn't care about it. Tan Kinja smiled slightly and said, "Ale Yang, wait for me here for a while. I'll be back soon." Say it. Tan Kinja's figure disappeared immediately. After a while, Tan Kinja returned again, but she almost changed her appearance. At this moment, Tan Kinja had light makeup on her face, which made her look even more charming and majestic. She wore a complicated crown on her head and a red palace skirt, which covered her exquisite and proud figure. The plump and beautiful legs were wrapped in black silk, and the jade feet were covered with a pair of high heels, which made a clicking sound as Tan Kinja moved around. Tan Kinja walked slowly to Sul Yang, her head slightly raised, looking cold, arrogant and majestic. After dressing up carefully, Tan Kinja at this moment is simply a cold, arrogant, and majestic queen sister. Let's go, Ale Yang, I'll take you to the unique features of this place. Tan Kinja held Sul Yang's hand and walked slowly. That place is called the marriage tree. Outside Luoshui city, a giant tree took root and grew. The huge branches are lush and leafy, but there are red ropes tied to these branches. On the red ropes are cards with content written on them. The cards are connected by the red ropes, and they are blown by the wind. Dancing slowly, very beautiful. But next to the thick roots of the giant tree, there are bright flowers growing all over the mountains and plains, with no end in sight, which adds a bit of romance to the place. Here is the marriage tree. It is rumored that under this tree, there are destined people who have gone through hardships and finally get married. In addition, the sea of flowers here is very beautiful, so it has attracted many young people to come here to seek marriage and vow to never be separated. Tan Kinja took Sul Yang and walked among the flowers, came under the tree, and looked at the cards flying in the sky. Written on these cards were romantic wishes. Smiling, Tan Kinja continued to explain, "It doesn't matter whether this place is efficacious or not. People come here just to prove that they have a wish." Listening to Tan Kinja's words, Sul Yang gradually fell into a trance while looking at the flying petals and those romantic wishes. He already vaguely understood why his sister brought him here. As she said, it was just for a thought. But the feelings between me and her no longer require too many words and proofs, so my sister brought me here just because this place is called the marriage tree. After the explanation, Tan Kinja turned to look at Sul Yang and said seriously, "Ale Yang, you are my eternal marriage. It is really great to be with you." "Me too." Sul Yang smiled softly and hugged Tan Kinja into his arms. "Sister, you are my favorite and most important people. We will never be separated." After leaving the marriage tree and returning to Tiandao sect, the first thing Tan Kinja did was to find her traitor who was still sulking. "No, that's not right. Now that you have taken revenge and vented your anger, you shouldn't be called a traitor." "Well, dear disciple." Seeing her master walking towards her, Qin Benjao pursed her lips, her eyes were slightly red, and there was a look of resentment on her beautiful face. Then she started to complain to her master. "Huh, you secretly stole my man, but you didn't take me with you, leaving him alone in the section. Master, you are going too far, I don't want to care about you." Volume 1 Chapter 290 Qingya was raped in front of her boyfriend, the Empress's black silk knee pillow. However, before Qin Benjao could speak, Tan Kinja spoke first and blocked Qin Benjao back. Pulling her apprentice to sit down, Tan Kinja happily said, showing off, "Yao you know, today I took Alyang to solve a big problem in our Tiandao sex business. Alyang is so powerful now, he only needs to leak a little breath to solve the problem." Then, the two of us went to the marriage tree in Luoshui city together. Yes, it was the marriage tree that sealed marriages. There, Alyang confessed to me with a look. Oh my, I feel so excited and happy just thinking about that scene. I almost cried with joy. After that, we played under the marriage tree for a long time and put up the marriage sign, and then we came back. While talking, Tan Kinja told Chin Benjeo vividly, telling Chin Benjeo every detail about how Suliang confessed to her, how he wrote the marriage card, and how he hung it on the marriage tree. At first, Chin Benjeo could deal with it calmly, but soon, when she heard about the marriage tree, Chin Benjeo's face wrinkled slightly. Later, when Suliang confessed his love and wrote marriage cards with the two of them and hung them on the tree, Chin Benjeo's beautiful little face was so twisted that she almost cried. "Master, you can't be like this, Suliang is mine, mine." Woo, Master is obviously the latecomer. Why is it that when Suliang went to the marriage tree, confessed his love, or even hung up the marriage card, it was not me, but the master? Although the relationship between Suliang and I no longer needs these proofs, this kind of romantic consciousness is enviable by everyone, right? Looking at Chin Benjeo's unpredictable expression, a smile appeared on Tan Kinja's face. So cool. This time, I was really happy, but I showed off a lot. Traitor, you have been irritating my master for the past few days. Let's see how my master will take revenge this time. Soon. Chin Benjeo recovered from the sadness and pain, and protested with a cry, "Master, you have gone too far. How can you and Suliang do this alone without taking others with you?" However, protest is useless. Tan Kinja looked innocent. "Who told you to sleep so much that you didn't wake up? If you had woken up at that time, I would definitely call you. Ha ha ha, my master took a liang away while you were still awake. What can you do? What can you do as a teacher?" After the crisis in the Tiandeo sect was resolved and Suliang and Chin Benjeo gathered the dragon mark, Suliang, Chin Benjeo and Tan Kinja returned directly to Shengjing. In Shengjing, Suliang and Chin Benjeo's mansion. Looking at her aunt, Yang Kaoj greeted her, and Tan Kinja happily greeted her, looking nourished, and said happily, "Sisters, I haven't seen you for a few days, I miss you so much. How have you been these past few days?" "Oh my, I'm doing very well. With a liang by my side, how can I not have a bad life? You don't have to worry about me." "What did you say?" "Oh, this red line on my wrist. Oh, this is what Liang and I got after we went to the marriage tree. Liang confessed his love to me and hung up the marriage cards together. There is something in it. Liang is full of love for me." As she spoke, Tan Kinja held the red rope on her wrist, her pretty face blushed slightly, and she smiled, as if she was remembering the scene that day. Watching this scene, Wan Qing and others' faces fell. "Just now, we didn't say a word. How on earth did you pretend that we asked you? You must be showing off to us, right? Show off that you can be with your husband, master, for many days. Show off what kind of marriage tree you can go to with your husband, master." At this moment, in their eyes, Tan Kinja, who showed off silently, exuded the abominable aura of a winner in life. Seeing Tan Kinja like this, Wan Qing pursed her red lips lightly, feeling very satisfied. "You haven't even been able to defeat Master, but you have eaten Master over and over again, and you have done so many things with Master. Moreover, even if you do it secretly, you still dare to show off in front of me. I feel like my niece needs to be taken care of. Kinja, come with me." Wan Qing said expressionlessly, walked to Tan Kinja, stretched out her hand, grabbed Tan Kinja's collar, and then dragged the confused Tan Kinja into the small dark room behind her. Moment. Tan Kinja came to her senses and hurriedly struggled and begged for mercy. Auntie, I know I was wrong, please let me go. Liang, please save me. I don't want to go with my aunt. I'm afraid." Seeing his sister's innocent look, Suliang swallowed hard, opened his mouth, and deliberately wanted to save his sister. "Ahem, master, sister. But before he finished speaking, Wan Qing suddenly turned around and also stared at Sul Yang. You can accompany this stupid niece of mine to do such nonsense. It seems that, my good disciple, you are no longer good. Disciples who don't behave well are the ones who need to be dealt with. Wan Qing said calmly, dragging Tan Qinja over, grabbing Sul Yang's collar, and then also pulling Sul Yang into the small dark room. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 313. At this moment, Sul Yang was completely stunned. You can even sit here? Master, you have gone too far. Entering the room, Wan Qing threw Sul Yang aside, and with the surge of true energy, Sul Yang was sealed in place, unable to move. Immediately afterwards, Wan Qing also restrained Tan Qinja's true energy. She sat on the chair and placed Tan Qinja on her body. Then, with a pair of hands, she grasped Tan Qinja's proud peak from behind. Hum, master, look at how I bully your woman in front of you. And at the moment Wan Qing held Tan Qinja in her hands. Tan Qinja's body trembled suddenly, she woke up and understood the torture she was about to face. Next moment, the palm of his hand exerted force, and the proud peak suddenly deformed. Auntie, please be gentle, it hurts so much, I'm going to explode, I'm going to explode. Tan Qinja screamed and begged for mercy, and then she looked at her man again, her eyes filled with tears, and she cried, Yang, don't look, don't look. Seeing the magic unfolding in front of him, Sul Yang was unable to struggle, but at the same time, he was extremely speechless and unable to complain. At the same time, woman, master, is your punishment a little too harsh? And sister, what are you talking about? What kind of forbidden scene is this? After a long time. Abba, Abba. He and Qing Yatan lay with their mouths slightly open, lying on their backs in Wan Qing's arms, their eyes dull, looking like they were about to be spoiled. In front of her own man, Tan Qinja was tortured by her aunt in every possible way. At this moment, Tan Qinja was indeed about to be spoiled. At this moment, Wan Qing finally stopped. Moment. A huge sense of happiness surrounded Tan Qinja, and she almost made Tan Qinja cry. Woohoo, it's finally over, the torture of the devil's aunt is finally over. They are almost ruined, okay. At this time, Wan Qing suddenly approached Tan Qinja's ear and whispered, Qinja, do you feel that your aunt's punishment for you is over? As expected, Qinja, you are still too young. Since I want to punish you, how can it end so quickly? After hearing this, Tan Qinja's body stiffened instantly, and the next moment, she almost couldn't help but struggle. This is not the end. This hellish torture is not over yet. No, auntie, I know it was wrong. I managed to survive your torture once, so I won't do it again. But before Tan Qinja could struggle, Wan Qing had already put Tan Qinja down, then stood up and came to Sul Yang's side. This moment, Tan Qinja seemed to understand Wan Qing's purpose and struggled more intensely. My aunt no longer attacks me, but extends her black hand to Sul Yang. You are playing with my man in front of me, auntie, you are not a human being, you have no heart. However, now, Wan Qing has banned all her cultivation and even her movements. At this moment, she can barely even struggle, let alone get up and fight the devil ant for 300 rounds to save her man. Then, Tan Qinja could only watch in despair. Her aunt gave her a malicious smile, and then Wan Qing raised her slender legs and straddled Sul Yang. With her legs sandwiched around Sul Yang's waist, Wan Qing put one hand around Sul Yang's neck, and the other hand moved all the way down, starting from the cheek, all the way across the chest, and finally reached the place where the giant sword sealed it. During the actions along the way, Wan Qing's movements were extremely gentle and distant, allowing Suliang to feel the tingling feeling of soft little hands, but it was not very obvious. But it was this feeling that was the most exciting, causing Suliang's body to tremble slightly. Immediately, Wan Qing boldly kissed Suliang's cheek, and then kept kissing aimlessly. Her soft pink lips kept touching Suliang's cheek, bringing a soft and moist feeling. At this moment, Wan Qing wanted to eat Suliang in one bite. Looking at the master with reddish cheeks and hazy eyes, who was holding his cheek and kissing him repeatedly, Suliang couldn't help but swallow. My master now seems to be transformed into a fairy, which is really a bit alluring. On the other side, seeing her man being bullied by her aunt in front of her, and even being eaten bit by her aunt, Tan Kinja completely collapsed. Woohoo, auntie, I really know I was wrong, please let go of my man. What kind of hell is this if you cheat on others in front of them? Wonking, you are simply a devil. After coming out of his master's place, Suliang felt exhausted physically and mentally, and his whole body was not well. At first, when his master was torturing his sister, Suliang didn't think it was a big deal. After all, they were aunt and niece. It was normal for the aunt to teach her niece a lesson. Although she felt distressed, she didn't seem to be able to get involved. But later, what my master did to me. It feels really hard to put into words. At this time, Yang Kaoj suddenly walked out of another room. After seeing Suliang with a tired face, Yang Kaoj reached out his hand and pulled Suliang closer to his room without saying a word. Immediately afterwards, under Suliang's nervous gaze, Yang Kaoj took off his shoes and sat sideways on the bed. Then, he pulled Suliang over and asked Suliang to lie down on the bed, then pressed Suliang's head on the bed. On her beautiful black stocking legs. At this moment, Yang Kaoj was still wearing a dragon robe, sitting sideways with her legs close together. The dragon robe was scattered around her, lying on the bed. Her slender legs were wrapped in black silk, which could make her legs slender and tight. After a little rubbing, he felt the tight, smooth feeling under his head, with the unique smooth touch of stockings. He took a deep breath, and the delicate fragrance from his girlfriend lingered on the tip of his nose. At this moment, Suliang felt that he was completely relaxed. And immediately, Yang Kaoj looked at Suliang with a smile on his face. He placed his slender hands on both sides of Suliang's forehead, kneading and massaging gently but without losing strength, helping Suliang relax. Call. Suliang let out a long breath and enjoyed the long-lost relaxation. He felt that he had finally recovered a lot, both mentally and physically, and he finally recovered. Feeling that his mind had become much clearer, Suliang hugged Kaoj's waist and rubbed her soft and elastic thighs, and then asked, I didn't see Wanyu when I came back this time. To Daoyao, Mu Qingqian and the others, where have they gone? Hearing this, Yang Kaoj smiled softly. Not long after Lang Jun left, the Queen Mother took Yao Yao, and Senior Jingmeng took Qingqian, and they left Daxia. After all, they also have brands on their hands. This time I went out just to collect the complete dragon mark. Hearing this, Suliang nodded clearly. Later that day, Suliang had just rested when Wan Qing dragged him out of Kaoj's room. Handing Suliang a sword, Wan Qing looked serious and said, since you have been promoted to the immortal realm, it is time to start the necessary training. This is also to allow you to better adapt to the cultivation and strength of the immortal realm. Also, to make up for the missing companionship between you and me during this period. Wan Qing added silently in her heart without telling Suliang directly. Yes, master. Suliang nodded. Although he felt that his cultivation strength had been better mastered, since the master wanted to train, it was up to him. It's not like you're at a disadvantage anyway. The moment Suliang finished speaking, Wan Qing suddenly raised her sword and struck out with the sword light, slashing towards Suliang. See this. Suliang immediately raised his sword to block, but the moment the sword light in his master's hand came into contact with the long sword in his hand, Suliang was instantly knocked away. How is this going? Suliang was completely stunned. He clearly sensed that his master's cultivation was the same as his own, in the realm of immortality. But just when Suliang was thinking seriously, Wan Qing's figure suddenly appeared next to Suliang. Wan Qing stretched out her slender hand, took Suliang's hand, and pulled it gently. Suliang's tendency to fly backward suddenly stopped, and then he threw himself into the arms of his master. Subconsciously, Suliang hugged his master with his backhand. In a daze, Suliang was greeted by his master's beautiful smile. Volume 1 Chapter 291 The Natural Killer. My dear disciple, you have failed. Wan Qing spoke softly, with an indescribable charm in her voice. Then, shall we continue? Suliang blinked and said stiffly. Originally, he wanted to ask how his master exerted power far beyond his own, but after seeing his master and smiling face, Suliang fell into it and couldn't ask anything. Don't be anxious. Wan Qing shook her head, her eyes gradually blurred, and her pretty face turned red. Immediately, she suddenly reached out her hand and gently touched Suliang. Boom! There was a soft sound, and for some reason, Suliang fell directly to the ground without any resistance under Wan Qing's finger. Next moment, Wan Qing actually sat directly on Suliang's waist, with her upper body lying on Suliang's body, her eyes as charming as silk, and her breath as soft as orchid. My good disciple, do you know that the loser will be punished? Wan Qing said softly and leaned forward. Moment. Suliang's consciousness was occupied by his master's soft and pink lips, and a pair of soft and elastic, proud and delicate bodies that exuded the fragrance of milk. Master, master, it's okay. No, 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 master, we can't do it there. Hiss. Another day. Tao Yaoyao strode into the gate of the mansion, with an excited smile on her pretty face, and shouted Suliang's name loudly, Brother Suliang, are you here? Hearing the sound, Suliang walked out of the room and saw Tao Yaoyao standing in the courtyard, looking around, looking for him. He asked curiously, Yao Yao Yao. Are you back so soon? Of course. When Tao Yaoyao saw Suliang, her eyes lit up and she ran up happily. When she came to Suliang's side, she showed Suliang the complete dragon mark on the back of her hand. Brother Suliang, look at this. I have received the complete dragon mark. Not bad, Yao Yao is great. Suliang nodded and praised, but with just a few words, Tao Yaoyao stood up and couldn't help but feel proud. And immediately after, Tao Yaoyao continued to look around, and her words smelled like green tea. Oh my, Sister Qingqian hasn't come back yet. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 314. Hey, doesn't she have to chase after others every day? They are no match for her. She is already so powerful. They can easily collect just a few dragon marks. Is it possible that she still can't do it? Can't collect it? Hearing this, Suliang couldn't help but hold his forehead and was speechless. Tao Yaoyao and Mu Qingqian were so embarrassed. How much hatred do you have? You are going to hurt someone even if they are not here? It's too much. And just then, two more figures stepped into the courtyard. Suliang looked over and saw that they were indeed Mu Qingqian and Master Jingmeng who had returned. After entering the courtyard, Mu Qingqian saw Suliang, a small light flashed in his eyes, and then he quickened his pace slightly, walked to Suliang, and said softly, it turns out that senior brother Su came back one step ahead of me. I don't know, has Master obtained the complete dragon pattern brand? After getting Suliang's affirmative answer, Mu Qingqian stretched out the back of his hand and showed it in front of Suliang. junior sister, I am the same. I also got a complete dragon mark this time I went out. At this time, Tao Yao Yao came over and took a look at the brand on the back of Mu Kinkian's hand. The tea smelled like tea, and she continued her green tea speech. Oh, Sister Qing Qian has gathered the dragon pattern brand so quickly, I'm sure it's very difficult and dangerous. Hee, Sister Qing Qian is really amazing. I've worked so hard, but I'm still a step behind Sister Qing Qian. I can't compare, I really can't compare. On the surface, these words seemed to be concerned, and she was amazed that Mu Qing Qian could obtain the complete dragon mark so quickly, but in fact, Tao Yao Yao was full of ridicule. Haha, you are an upright goddess who chases me, a demonic witch, all day long, but you only get a dragon mark later than me, is that all? That's it? Righteous goddess, that's it? But it's a pity that Tao Yao Yao is very good at operation, but Mu Qing Qian can't understand the meaning of Tao Yao Yao's words at all. You, a demonic witch, do you still care about me? Mu Qing Qian glanced at Tao Yao Yao. Oh, even if you show weakness to me and say that you are inferior to me, even if you care about me, don't expect me to be polite to you. You are a demonic witch, and I am the right way. There is no harmony between demons and there is no possibility of compromise between you and me. Hearing this, Tao Yao Yao was completely stunned. Please understand, I am mocking you. Which of your eyes can see that I care about you and show weakness to you? I've already ridiculed you so much that you still don't understand, Mu Qing Qian? I really don't understand whether you are naive or lack a little bit of wisdom. I just said so much, it was all in vain. Tao Yao Yao thought about it, feeling an indescribable feeling of frustration in her heart. This feeling of accumulating strength and hitting the cotton with a punch really made her feel uncomfortable. If I had known that she was so innocent, even to the point of being a bit naive, I wouldn't have ridiculed her. This is obviously a waste of breath. Just when Tao Yao Yao was depressed and uncomfortable, Qin Benjiao came over with a caring look, touched Tao Yao Yao's head and comforted her. Hey, Sister Yao Yao, just touch your head and don't cry. It's no big deal. If you know you can't beat her, just work harder. As for cultivation, it's not like we don't have talent. As long as we work hard, we won't be afraid of anything. Thank you so much. Which of your eyes saw me saying that I can't compare to her? Please figure it out, okay? I am the proud son of the Yin-Yang Dao sect and a disciple of the sect leader Dong Huang. My talent and cultivation are no worse than Mu Kinkian's. Where do I need your comfort? Is there anyone with a normal IQ in this family? With a helpless sigh, Qin Benjiao's cuteness made Tao Yao Yao feel that she was hit hard again and her heart was stabbed again. One or two of them are so cute that they want to laugh. How on earth did I, Tao Yao Yao, who is so smart as ice and snow, get along with these stupid idiots until now? Turning around and leaving, Tao Yao Yao felt that she really couldn't get along with this group of idiots any longer. If you continue to force yourself to get along like this, the consequences will either be that you will be pissed off, or you will be assimilated by this group of idiots. Time passed and soon it was time for dinner. And today, in order to celebrate that Sul Yang, Qin Benjiao, Tao Yao Yao and Mu Qing Qian all obtained the complete dragon mark, Wan Qing, Tan Kinja, Yang Kaoj and Qin Wanyu specially found many good things. Together with Jing Meng, we cooked a table of delicious dishes and treated it like a dinner party. And on the dinner table, Tao Yao Yao sat in her seat with a dull expression, looking at the delicious food on the table, but she had no intention of eating it. Her mentality was about to collapse. Volume 1 Chapter 292 The Appearance of the Real Dragon and the Evil Actions of the Witch. Qin Benjiao sat next to Tao Yao Yao. At this moment, she couldn't even think about talking to Sul Yang. She was devoted to enlightening Tao Yao Yao. Sister Yao Yao, don't cry. Don't be afraid. It's not our fault that we can't compare to others. We just don't have the ability to do so, it's just a matter of people's efforts. If we work hard, there is still hope that we can catch up with this small gap. Well, okay, Sister Benjeo, I understand. Tao Yao Yao nodded numbly, facing Qin Benjeo's enthusiastic persuasion. She really didn't know what kind of expression she should use to face it. She was actually fine at all, it was just that the ridicule was a bit heartbreaking, but she wouldn't be persuaded like this, right? But if she told the truth to Qin Benjeo, Tao Yao Yao felt that the persona she had painstakingly created would explode immediately. Don't cry. Look, just like Sulang, when I was in the Xiantian realm, Sulang's cultivation had just been abolished and he had to start over. But now, isn't he still promoted to the immortality realm like me? So, a momentary failure is nothing. The important thing is that we must face up to the failure and work hard to move forward. Qin Benjeo looked at Tao Yao Yao seriously and continued to educate her hard-won sister. Okay, Sister Benjeo, I understand. Tao Yao Yao nodded, almost crying. God, who can stop her? The other side. Qin Wanyu sat next to Sul Yang, holding chopsticks in her slender hands, picked up a piece of delicious food, and stuffed it into Sul Yang's mouth. With a soft and gentle look, she served Sul Yang to eat and said with a slight smile, "Husband, is the thing I made still to your husband's taste?" Sul Yang nodded and couldn't help but give a thumbs up. To be honest, as the Queen Mother, Qin Wanyu has only been doing this for a few years, but after all, she is pampered every day. But even so, it is really rare that she can maintain this kind of craftsmanship. Seeing Sul Yang nod, Qin Wanyu laughed happily, and then she came close to Sul Yang's ear and whispered, "Husband, I have prepared a surprise for you tonight. After all, I have been separated from my husband for so many days, and now that we are reunited after a long separation, I have to let him vent my longing. So, after the dinner." After Qin Wanyu changed her clothes and dressed up carefully, she went directly to Sul Yang's room. After opening the door and walking in, she found Yang Kaoj, who had just entered Sul Yang's room and was also dressed up carefully. At this moment, both of them were confused. Actually loaded it into the car? This little watch, old woman, actually thought of going together with me? The two looked at each other, and after a moment, Qin Wanyu smiled softly, "I didn't expect that Sister Kaoj was here. Look, it's already so late. It's time for me and my husband to rest. Sister Kaoj, is it time to go? What the Queen said is wrong. It is obvious that I came here first today. I should be given the opportunity to sleep with my husband. On the contrary, the Queen is quite old. At this time, she should also go back to the palace to rest." Went. Yang Kaoj immediately responded without hesitation. At this time, the two people were actually very high-spirited, and neither of them wanted to give up. They began to exchange various words, and the war of words was like the invisible light and shadow of swords, which made people's hearts tremble. The Empress of Great Xia, Yang Kaoj, is dressed in a gorgeous dragon robe. Her already beautiful, elegant, and luxurious appearance and temperament add a bit of heavy majesty. When people face her, they can't help but kneel to the ground. Offer your loyalty. Qin Wanyu, the Queen Mother of Daxia, is a disciple of the Yin-Yang Dao section. She is inherently charming, graceful, and elegant. Every move she makes is full of charm. She has a mind for the world, and tolerance is great. Just one look at it makes people unable to bear it. Stay immersed in it, and your heart will beat. At this moment, these two stunning figures at the top of Great Xia were gathered together to quarrel over Sul Yang, which made Sul Yang feel great pressure. To be fair, although the two people in front of him are both his own women, equally beautiful and graceful, Sul Yang, as a gentleman, said that he wanted to be alone, so you should all leave. But no matter what, Sul Yang didn't have the right to speak. Every time before he could speak, he was blocked by these two people. What can be done? The next morning, Suliang opened his eyes and woke up. Before he could move, he felt heavy on his body. Looking up, he saw two stunningly beautiful ladies in Suliang's arms, one on the left and one on the right. Queen Mother Qin Wanyu was graceful and luxurious, while Empress Ying Chao Ji was majestic and domineering. But at this moment, both of them had their heads resting on Suliang's chest, their faces with a gentle smile. The two women who hold the world in their hands now look like little women clinging to their husband. In addition, the two of them have beautiful pink backs, proud peaks, and long and plump legs. These two women look like this. It's really exciting. But right now, boom! There was a roaring sound, and suddenly, the heaven and earth were turbulent, and the sun and moon changed their colors. Then, a vision appeared. Suliang frowned and had some guesses in his mind, so he quickly got dressed with Qin Wanyu and Ying Kaoj and walked out of the room. And at this moment, in Suliang's courtyard, not only Suliang and the other three, but also Wan Qing, Jing Meng, etc. were all waiting here. She looked up at the sky and observed carefully. After a long time, when the strange phenomena in the sky dissipated, Wan Qing lowered her head, looked at Suliang, Qin Benjiao, Tao Yaoyao and Mu Qingqian, and said, "Collection of dragon pattern brands, the time is almost up, and now, the important part of the Tianzhen dragon battle is about to begin." Important link? Suliang asked doubtfully. To be fair, this was his first time to come into contact with the Divine Enlightenment Dragon War, and he was even less clear about the links involved. Wan Qing naturally knew that Suliang was not clear about it, so she patiently explained, "The Heavenly Dragon War, the Dragon Cave appears, and contains the Destiny True Dragon transformed by hundreds of years of luck, waiting for people to find it. This real dragon is a real physical dragon. Its whole body is full of treasures. As long as it can be brought back, even if it's just some parts, it won't be a loss this time." Immediately, Wan Qing thought for a while and then said, "Especially the dragon beads in the body of the true dragon are of extraordinary value. They can be called the most important and precious part of the entire body of the true dragon. The proof of destiny is mysterious and unpredictable. Indescribable." Hearing this, Suliang nodded, "If that's the case, then we must get the dragon ball this time." But then, Wan Qing said with some embarrassment, "It's just, according to the vision, the dragon cave this time appeared in both the good and evil worlds at once. There are two dragon caves, separated into two realms of good and evil. This is an unprecedented sight. Therefore, where you are going to get out is a big question. It's best to split up." After thinking for a while, Suliang said seriously, "Both dragon caves may not have treasures, and even if there are real dragons, the situations may not be the same. There are 4 of us in total, and we only go to one place, giving up the other it's really unwise. So, it is better to divide the troops into 2 groups, go to the 2 dragon caves in pairs, and explore them carefully." After hearing Suliang's words, everyone present nodded in agreement. The appearance of 2 dragon caves is indeed an unprecedented behavior. Even Wan Qing is not sure what will happen inside. Therefore, in this case, it is safe to act separately. No matter which party gets the benefit, as long as they share it with each other, all 4 people will get it. But, after deciding on separate operations, how to separate operations is a problem. "I want to go with Brother Suliang." Tao Yaoyao raised her hand first, wanting to finalize the grouping of herself and Suliang. "Sister Yaoyao, how could you steal my man?" Qin Benjiao puffed up her cheeks and glared at Tao Yaoyao, "I am Suliang's girlfriend. Since the 2 of us want to act together, of course it will be me and Suliang." Mu Qingqian was the only one, standing there without speaking, but occasionally looking up at Suliang, his eyes were full of information. Listening to Qin Benjiao and Tao Yaoyao's words, Wan Qing touched her chin and thought secretly. She really didn't understand the personalities of Tao Yaoyao and Mu Qingqian, but after getting along with them these days, she had somewhat understood them. In her opinion, Tao Yaoyao pesters her good disciple every day, no matter what the purpose is, but it is always too free. She always feels that as long as her good disciple hooks his finger, Tao Yaoyao can come to her door. Go. Now, my good disciple already has 4 women, and I haven't conquered them yet. So, how can I allow such a free girl to stay with my good disciple? It's really not reassuring. On the other side, Tan Kinja looked at her apprentice and felt that her apprentice was the one who was given for free. If she is allowed to go out with Ailiang, she doesn't know what she will do with Ailiang that she has never done before. Therefore, she must not allow her traitor to go out with her man. Wan Qing and Tan Kinja looked at each other, and they both saw the other's thoughts in the other's eyes. Nodding, without saying a word, Wan Qing and Tan Kinja magically reached a consensus. Ahem. Wan Qing coughed lightly and made a decision, let Suliang and Mu Qingqian go together. You two will go to the dragon cave of the righteous way. Binjao and Tao Yaoyao will go to the devil's cave together. Hearing this, Mu Qingqian blinked in confusion. There were 3 people in total, but she didn't speak. But in the end, she won inexplicably and was going to the Jendao dragon cave with Suliang. What was going on? My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 315. Seeing Wan Qing's arrangement, Qin Binjao knew that she couldn't make Wan Qing change her mind and let herself replace Mu Qingqian, so she immediately said, I think it's okay for 3 of us to work together. Why don't Sulang and I do it, Sister Qingqian? Shall we go to the Jendao dragon cave together? After hearing this, Tao Yaoyao became a little anxious. Because of Wan Qing's decision, he couldn't abduct Suliang, but even so, he had to abduct his wife first. You can't just work hard on your own and gain nothing at all, right? Then. Tao Yaoyao immediately hugged Qin Binjao's arm and begged coquettishly, oh, Sister Binjao, just go with me. This time the dragon cave will definitely be crowded with geniuses. We are going to the demonic dragon cave again. People of the demonic way, he is most cruel and ruthless. I am alone and I am very scared. Brother Suliang and Mu Qingqian are already very powerful, and Sister Binjao, you are the most powerful among us. If you join us again, how will the proud people of the righteous way survive? Sister Binjao is so good looking and powerful. People admire Sister Binjao the most. Is Sister Binjao willing to leave me alone? After finishing her words, Tao Yaoyao blinked her big watery eyes, looking pitiful. Her words included coquettish begging, various embarrassing compliments, and various expressions of her admiration for Qin Binjao. Suliang might have been immune to it, but Qin Binjao was really not immune. Smiling happily, Qin Binjao was so praised that she was confused. Hey, am I really that good? Okay, don't be afraid. Sister, how could I leave you alone? I'll go with you, don't worry. Then. The confused Qin Binjao was abducted by Tao Yaoyao. Outside the righteous dragon cave. A group of righteous geniuses gathered in the dragon cave. Naturally, the geniuses have their own small circle, so each group of geniuses is looking for their friends and acquaintances, talking to each other, sharing their cultivation experience, and discussing the 2 dragon caves this time. It is really because the 2 dragon caves this time are so special and unique. I am afraid that no one except the leaders of the 2 paths of good and evil knows the secrets of them. There are too many things worth discussing here. And this time. In the crowd, there was suddenly an uproar. I saw a beautiful lady with a stunning face, tall and hot figure, but exuding a cold temperament, walked out of the crowd. The lady exuded the aura of keeping strangers away, and her long and beautiful legs moved back and forth. The geniuses will all give in. As expected, This one is here too. Tianjiao whispered. Lingdi, one of the most powerful disciples of the righteous path, became famous earlier than the goddess Mu Qingqian and has outstanding achievements. Now, she is only slightly weaker than Mu Qingqian and can be said to be the strongest of the righteous path, one of the dazzling ones. Now that this person is here, I'm afraid our chances of getting the treasures in this dragon's cave will be much less. And the words just fell. Then a cute and soft voice sounded, "Everyone, give way and let me pass." Everyone looked around and saw nothing in front of them. They couldn't help but be a little surprised. But then, everyone suddenly realized and looked down. Sure enough, they saw a petite and cute loli with a sweet and cute smile on her face, talking with his face turned to face. It turns out to be Fairy Yuhi. Although she is petite and cute, her swordsmanship is extremely exquisite. She is also the proud swordsman second only to Mu Qingqian. This one is an opponent of the same level as the previous Lingdi. Fairy Spirit Butterfly and Fairy Yuhi have arrived together. This time the battle in the Dragon Cave is going to be interesting. But just as this person finished explaining, all the geniuses present were silent. The person explaining it was stunned for a moment, and subconsciously followed everyone's gaze, and then his whole body froze. A moment later, a shocking cry came from the crowd, "The goddess Mu Qingqian is here!" Outside of all the pride, Suliang and Mu Qingqian finally appeared. Volume 1 Chapter 293 Girl, Lily can't give birth. Behind Suliang's hands, dressed in white clothes, Sheng Shui was extremely handsome. In addition, his inadvertently revealed powerful aura that far exceeded the dragon transformation realm, which immediately attracted the attention of many proud people. Mu Qingqian, who was slightly behind Suliang, followed Suliang's footsteps. Mu Qingqian was extremely beautiful, elegant, and dignified. She wore a bright yellow palace skirt that covered her proud figure. The pair of bells on her wrists jingled as she moved, which further highlighted her aloofness, coldness, and ethereal appearance. Meaning. But what surprised all the geniuses? Mu Qingqian, who was following Suliang, seemed to have softened the sacred and aloof feeling on her beautiful face. His beautiful eyes were no longer so indifferent and became much more agile. Occasionally when he looked at Suliang, his eyes there are still inexplicable fluctuations. At first glance, Suliang and Mu Qingqian walking together look like a match made in heaven. But if you look carefully, you will feel that these two people are really a righteous couple. No matter the appearance, temperament, or cultivation, they all match perfectly. Just with this appearance, Suliang and Mu Qingqian were far superior to the two fairies Lingdi and Yuhi before. In just an instant, all the attention paid to the two fairies before was transferred to Suliang and Mu Qingqian. Is this the dragon's cave? Suliang and Mu Qingqian walked to the front of the crowd together, looked at the dragon cave in front of them, and then looked at the proud people around them. Most of these proud men came from the Shang zone, and most of them were unknown to Suliang. Mu Qingqian's cold voice unconsciously softened a little, and she asked in a low voice, "Senior brother Su, I am quite familiar with these righteous geniuses, do you need me to introduce them to you?" Suliang shook his head, "No, thank you junior sister." And just then, wow! An uproar broke out in the crowd. Suliang and Mu Qingqian looked in the direction of the sound. Before they could see anything, they heard a low voice exclaiming, the Holy Sun is here too." Sun. Suliang raised his eyebrows. This title sounded very important, but he had never seen the other party before. To be precise, today is the first time. Mu Qingqian, who was next to Suliang, had a slightly subtle expression when he heard the name Holy Sun. Soon, the crowd dispersed, and a figure appeared in front of Suliang. This figure has a beautiful face. She has a slender figure and long hair tied up. She is dressed in men's white clothes to cover her proud figure. She is pretending to be a man. A silk belt inlaid with white jade binds her slender waist, but it is even more powerful. It highlights the slender legs. As the lotus steps moved lightly, an arrogant, cold, yet extremely confident aura emerged from this figure. This extremely strong aura of self-confidence that I thought I was invincible made this figure the most dazzling star among all the proud people. Just one look at him made it impossible to take his eyes away. This is the Taoist Saint Sun. Passing through the crowd, the Holy Sun came straight to Sul Yang, but did not even look at Sul Yang. He just looked at Mu Qingqian playfully, and after a moment, he said, "I knew you would definitely come back, he, look. Come on, this time, it's time for you and me to compete again. Mu Qingqian, are you ready to lose to me again?" The moment she saw the Holy Sun, Mu Qingqian's divine and aloof beauty showed a hint of joy, but this joy soon disappeared, replaced by a more aloof and arrogant self-confidence. "This time, you will be defeated by me again," Mu Qingqian said softly, confronting the Holy Sun tit for tat. To be honest, if Sul Yang hadn't caught the fleeting joy on the faces of Shenzi and Mu Qingqian, who were disguised as men, he might have actually thought that the two were enemies. But now it seems, these two people are like best friends who are both enemies and friends, tit for tat, but in fact they have a very good relationship. After thinking about it carefully, Sul Yang felt that his feeling was correct. Can be followed immediately. The Holy Sun glanced at Sul Yang, pointed at Sul Yang, and questioned Mu Qingqian, "Mu Qingqian, what's going on with you? We agreed that we would all be single together, and you betrayed me like this. I didn't expect that you and I had not seen each other for a few days, and you actually found a man to come back." After hearing this, Mu Qingqian immediately denied it and said, "I'm not, I didn't, don't talk nonsense." Immediately, she quietly glanced at Sul Yang's face, and seeing that Sul Yang's face had not changed, she continued to defend, "Senior brother Su is a good friend of my master and a disciple of Senior Wan Cheng. When I was collecting dragon mark brands, I happened to be with my master. I am with Senior brother Su, so we will go to the dragon cave together. Who are you bluffing? You two are so close, and you both look like a couple of gods and gods when you appear. You say you have nothing to do with him. Do you think I can believe it?" The Holy Sun curled his lips, looking like he didn't believe it at all, but he didn't ask Mu Qingqian any more, and instead turned his attention to Sul Yang. Moment. Sul Yang felt deep hostility from the side of the Holy Sun. At this moment, Sul Yang was not feeling well. "Don't think that just because you're wearing men's clothes, I won't know you're a woman. You, a woman, are hostile to me? What's going on?" Constantly looking at Shenzi and Mu Qingqian, Sul Yang always felt that the way this female gentleman looked at Mu Qingqian seemed a little abnormal. In the dragon cave, Sul Yang walked numbly in front, but behind him were Shenzi and Mu Qingqian. Since the dragon cave was opened and a group of proud men entered the dragon cave, the Holy Sun followed Sul Yang and Mu Qingqian and refused to leave. And since the Holy Sun appeared, the cold, arrogant and sacred look on Mu Qingqian's face seemed to have dissipated a lot, and he was no longer so taciturn. At least, he could have a few words with the Holy Sun. If it weren't for this, Sul Yang would have driven away this Holy Sun who was hostile to him long ago, right? For no other reason than that he was afraid that at the critical moment, the Holy Sun would give him something behind his back. After all, the relationship between him and the Holy Sun had not reached that point yet, and the Holy Sun seemed to have misunderstood something from the beginning and had a lot of doubts about him. Deep hostility. "So, is there something wrong with you, a woman, who is hostile to me?" Snort. The voice of the Holy Sun came from behind Sul Yang, "Mu Qingqian, men will only weaken your will and determination. If you continue to be stubborn and addicted to men, I am afraid that you will soon be far behind me. I can't catch up anymore." Immediately afterwards, Mu Qingqian's somewhat helpless defensive voice came, I told you that you misunderstood. Senior brother Su and I really don't have that kind of relationship. From the moment he entered the dragon cave, the Holy Sun kept saying these words with similar meanings. Not to mention Mu Qingqian, even Suliang was a little bored. He couldn't help but want to block the Holy Sun's mouth several times. The Holy Sun of the Taoist sect turned out to be such a person. Is the Taoist sect going to end? And just then, roar! A dragon roar suddenly sounded, attracting the attention of Suliang and others. Volume 1 # Chapter 294, They have a tacit understanding like a couple. The roar of the dragon resounded through the dragon cave, the sound was like thunder, and there was also a trace of the power of a real dragon, which was breathtaking. If someone was not well trained enough, just hearing this sound would make him tremble with fear and his body would tremble. Soft, he fell to his knees. Certainly. The effect of the dragon's roar has no effect on Suliang and the others. Following the sound of the dragon's roar, Suliang and the others hid in a relatively safe place, looking at the battlefield not far away in front of them. I saw. A violent ferocious beast was raging on the earth, and around the ferocious beast, many proud people were seriously injured and fell to the ground. The only ones who could persist in resisting were Yujilingdi and lowly Yuhi. But looking at the two people's barely resisting posture, I'm afraid they have reached the end of their strength and it will be difficult for them to continue to resist. It looks like a very ordinary beast, but its strength is somewhat unusual. Mu Qingqian observed the ferocious beast and couldn't help but say, this type of ferocious beast at this age should not have such ferocious strength. After Suliang thought for a while, he said, there seems to be a strange aura on this beast. It is this aura that strengthens the beast and makes it much stronger. It's dragon energy. The Holy Sun explained, the dragon cave is filled with dragon aura. This ferocious beast has been eroded by the dragon aura and has some of the characteristics of a real dragon. Therefore, the strength of this ferocious beast is beyond imagination. It's not something that ordinary geniuses can resist. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 316. And the moment the Holy Sun finished speaking, the ferocious beast suddenly made a fierce move, and slapped Lingdi and Yuhi directly in the direction of Suliang. Without any time to think, Suliang jumped up and caught the two people who were flying over. He landed firmly on the ground and used his true energy to sort out the surging blood of the two women before asking, how are you two? All right, well. Looking at Suliang, who made a strong move to save the two of them, Lingdi and Yuhi blushed, and they were all a little embarrassed. Before Suliang could continue to speak, the beast's gaze shifted to Suliang's direction. In an instant, Suliang felt the dangerous murderous intent from the beast. The murderous intention with the aura of a true dragon rushed towards his face, and the majesty of the true dragon carried in it was enough to make the body of a person in the dragon transformation realm tremble and make him unable to use any strength. Putting down the two girls in his arms, Suliang warned, you hide behind me first. Say it. Base. There was a clear sword cry, and Suliang unsheathed his sword and pointed it at the ferocious beast that was charging at him from a distance. This young man, get out of the way. Lingdi couldn't help but shout out, the beast eroded by the dragon's energy was far more powerful than she imagined, and she didn't want the young man who had just saved her to die under the claws of the beast. Yuhi on the side couldn't help but look worried when he saw this scene. It doesn't matter, it's just a ferocious beast. Suliang's voice with a chuckle sounded. Immediately afterwards, everyone who looked at Suliang felt their eyes blurred. Suliang's figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already above the ferocious beast. Base. A ray of sword energy slashed out from the long sword in Suliang's hand. The sword energy didn't seem to be overbearing. It didn't contain much sword intent, it was just slashed out casually. But the sword energy that was cut out at random was like a sharp knife cutting tofu, easily cutting through the hide and armor of the beast and penetrating deep into the flesh and bone. Roar! The ferocious beast roared, and there was a dripping blood mark on its back. Blood spurted out from it, dyeing the ground under its feet red. Oh, the leather armor of this ferocious beast is a bit hard, probably due to the erosion of the dragon's energy. Suliang recalled the feel of the sword before, and then he raised the sword again and took action. Immediately afterwards, under the shocked gazes of everyone, Suliang was able to control this ferocious beast that many geniuses could not defeat together. Suliang could strike out with one sword at any time, with ease. Every sword blow caused bone-deep damage to the beast, making the beast roar again and again, but it could not touch Suliang at all. This is simply an easy killing. Rather than fighting the ferocious beast, Suliang at this moment is more interested in studying the structure and weaknesses of the ferocious beast. Not long after, the ferocious beast had countless wounds on its body, fell to the ground miserably, and made no sound anymore. But until this moment, Suliang had not even shed a few drops of sweat, his body was not stained with blood, and he was ethereal. Solved. Putting the long sword back into its scabbard, Suliang came to Lingdi and Yuhi and asked again with concern, "Are you okay?" "Thank you, sir, for saving me," Lingdi and Yuhi said in unison, looking at Suliang with colorful eyes and a slight blush on their pretty faces. Even Suliang didn't expect that he just saved these two people at any time, but he inadvertently created a wave of goodwill in the hearts of these two people. Not far away, the geniuses who were knocked down by the ferocious beast looked at the scene of Suliang easily killing the ferocious beast. They all looked shocked and couldn't help but swallow. Before this, none of them knew Suliang, let alone that Suliang had such strength that far exceeded them. The ferocious beast that they had easily joined forces to seriously injured was killed by Suliang easily. With such cultivation strength, it can be said that Suliang is a dark horse who emerged from the dragon cave this time. Although his reputation is not obvious, he is the most proud man of the generation. It's really amazing. After dealing with the ferocious beast, Suliang, Mu Qingqian, and Zhenzi continued to move forward without stopping. And soon, the road in front of the three of them is already impassable. This is Pixiu. Looking at the familiar beast lying on the ground in front of him, blocking the way forward, Suliang couldn't help but speak out. The Holy Sun nodded, his expression as before, and he was not alerted by the appearance of the strange beast Pixiu. The Pixiu transformed by luck has extraordinary strength, far surpassing the ferocious beasts we encountered before. Then what does this thing mean when it's blocked here? Suliang couldn't help but ask again, do we need to defeat it before we can move on? That's natural. The Holy Sun said matter-of-factly, there is only one way forward. This Pixiu is waiting here. Only if we defeat it can we open the way forward and continue to move forward. But, defeating Pixiu is not easy. Even if Qingqian and I attack alone, we may not be the opponent of this strange beast. We have to cooperate to defeat it? Understood. Suliang nodded, looking understanding. Isn't it just a cooperative effort to defeat the mini-boss guarding the level? I'm familiar with this process. There is a mini-boss blocking the way at the end of the level. There's nothing wrong with this design. Base. Suliang drew out his long sword, slowly approached Pixiu, and said softly, I'll test it first. If I'm not defeated, I'll retreat and we'll fight the enemy together. Base. Another sword sound sounded, and Mu Qingqian followed Suliang, Senior brother Su, it's too dangerous for you to be alone. Let me go with you. Suliang walked in front, and Mu Qingqian followed behind. Each of them held a sword in their hands, trying not to make any noise as they approached the strange beast Pixiu transformed by luck. However, after all, Pixiu is a strange beast, and it is transformed by luck. It is very different from ordinary ferocious beasts. Even Suliang and Mu Qingqian have restrained their auras to the extreme, and they do not emit any murderous intention at all, but they still nothing can be hidden from Pixiu. Roar. Pixiu roared, stood up, then looked up to the sky and screamed, pacing back and forth, looking at Suliang and Mu Qingqian with fierce eyes. Discovered. Suliang frowned slightly and put one hand on the hilt of the sword. The sword was slowly unsheathed and held in his hand. Mu Qingqian, who was behind Suliang, also had a long sword in his hand at this moment. Even though their cultivation has now reached the realm of immortality, and they have even become almost invincible at the same level, Suliang and Mu Qingqian still feel a slight sense of oppression when facing this fate-turned Pixiu. Be careful. This Pixiu is a bit too strong and may not be easy to deal with. Suliang turned his head and whispered to Mu Qingqian behind him. He had to say that the Qi Luk Pai Yao in front of him was really one of the few opponents he had practiced to this point who could make him feel the pressure and must be taken seriously. I know. Mu Qingqian nodded, Senior Brother Su, be careful too. And Mu Qingqian just finished speaking. Roar. Qi Luk Pixiu once again raised his head to the sky and roared, then kicked off all four legs and pounced towards him. Boom. A roaring sound suddenly exploded. It was just an ordinary attack by Qi Luk Pai Yao, but there was a sound of thunder and lightning, and the sound was extremely terrifying. Seeing Pixiu taking the initiative to attack, Suliang took a step forward without even thinking, and raised his sword to block in front of him. When there was a sound of gold and iron clashing. At this moment, Suliang felt a huge force coming from the sword body. Unexpectedly, even Suliang felt a little pressure. However, it was just a mere attack, but it was not enough to make Suliang unable to hold on. Go. Suliang shook his hands vigorously, using a very delicate technique to remove the power from the sword, and then slashed back with his sword. With the light of the sword, he successfully forced Pixiu back. And immediately after, just when Pixiu's steps were unsteady and Suliang had no time to counterattack, Mu Qingqian raised his sword and stabbed forward, successfully filling the gap in the attack. Suliang and Mu Qingqian had never discussed this sword, but they seemed to have practiced it countless times and relied on tacit understanding to cooperate. That's not all. Next, Suliang and Mu Qingqian cooperated to fight against the enemy Pixiu. This cooperation was a tacit understanding. Both Suliang and Mu Qingqian seemed to know each other's thoughts very well. They always took action at the most suitable place. Make the most suitable blow. This kind of tacit understanding is like one person, as if the two have been fighting against each other and working together for thousands of years. This is a tacit understanding from the body's instinct. And under the tacit understanding of the two people fighting, even though the luck of the Pixiu was far more powerful than the two of them, it was not long before he was killed by the two of them, turned into pure luck, and dissipated between the heaven and the earth. Call. Suliang took a breath, turned his head, and said to Mu Qingqian with a smile, Junior Sister Mu cooperated very well. If it weren't for Junior Sister Mu, we wouldn't have been able to defeat Luck Pixiu so quickly. Junior Sister played a huge role in this battle. Mu Qingqian pursed her red lips lightly and shook her head, Senior Brother Su is the one. No matter the attack or defensive reaction, he is far superior to me. If it weren't for Senior Brother's cooperation with me, I wouldn't be able to make that crucial sword strike. But just as the two were exchanging business blows, the Holy Sun came to the two of them and looked at them with contempt. You still say that you have nothing to do with each other? If it really doesn't matter, what's the deal with your tacit understanding? Don't tell me, you don't know it yourself. This level of tacit understanding between the two of you is impossible without years or even decades of running in. After hearing this, Mu Qingqian opened her mouth slightly and wanted to defend herself, but she couldn't. The fact that she and Suliang cooperated tacitly is right in front of them. People will always believe what they see. With this fact as a basis, no matter how she explains it, the Holy Son will probably not believe it. Moreover, if you put yourself in his shoes, if the Holy Son and Suliang showed excellent tacit understanding at this moment, then no matter how the Holy Son explained to her that she and Suliang had nothing to do with each other, Mu Qingqian would not believe it. With a helpless sigh, Mu Qingqian looked at Suliang subconsciously. In fact, she didn't understand how she could have such an almost instinctive understanding with Suliang. On the other side, Suliang was lost in thought. He recalled Mu Qingqian's previous moves and kept comparing them with the senior sister in his memory in The Sims. He really found the fighting habits and style of that senior sister from Mu Qingqian's moves. But there are some deviations in this, and they are not exactly the same. And just then, tick-tock. A low sound of water droplets sounded, and Suliang immediately came back to his senses. He subconsciously looked in the direction of the sound, and immediately saw Mu Qingqian's scratched and bleeding arm. "You were scratched." Suliang frowned slightly, walked up to Mu Qingqian, his warm-mannered demeanor was clearly displayed, and said softly, "Let me bandage it for you. Although the wound is not big, it is still somewhat painful, so it is not good to leave it alone. Besides, junior sister, you are a girl. You are fair and tender. If you leave scars, it will be a bit unsightly. Say it." Suliang took out a set of cleaning and anti-inflammatory bandaging tools, fiddled with them, and offered to bandage Mu Qingqian. However, facing Suliang's initiative, Mu Qingqian's sacred and aloof pretty face turned slightly red, showing an uncomfortable look. She has never been so considerate by anyone since she was a child. This novel experience, especially coming from a person of the opposite sex, makes her not sure what to do. Taking a step back slightly, Mu Qingqian deliberately refused and said rather uncomfortably, "Senior brother Su, no need, I'll do it myself. It's just a minor injury. It'll be fine if you don't deal with it. I don't need to worry about it, senior brother. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator." Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 317. However, she couldn't defeat Suliang at all. Suliang shook his head and said domineeringly, "No, if there is an injury, it must be treated. What's the point of leaving it alone? Be obedient and you'll be fine soon. Say it." Without giving Mu Qingqian a chance to refuse, Suliang pulled Mu Qingqian's clothes, his sword energy emerged, cut open the clothes near the wound on Mu Qingqian's arm, and began to bandage it carefully. "Well." Mu Qingqian snorted and stopped talking, but stared at Suliang closely, her pretty face seemed to turn redder. "Will the sacred and aloof goddess also be melted?" Volume 1 Chapter 295, The Witch Who Overturned Online. In the demonic dragon cave. Tao Yaoyao was a witch after all. Although she pretended to be a pure girl for a while, her true nature was not what she should be. Just after leaving Daxia and Suliang's side, Tao Yaoyao directly returned to her true nature. "I stopped pretending, I showed my cards, alas, I am not a pure girl to begin with. Tao Yaoyao scumbag mode is on. Sister Benjao, this is my first time going out, so I don't know anything." Tao Yaoyao came close to Qin Benjao and began to coax Qin Benjao, "I heard that my sister has been working outside since very early. She must be rich in experience. If so, shouldn't she take more care of her? Otherwise, my sister may not survive long if she is outside." After hearing this, Qin Benjao said calmly, "Since you have never gone out alone, you should be self-reliant and do your own things. Only in this way can you develop your abilities. If you want me to help you with everything, if I take care of you, where will your growth come from?" These words were not Qin Benjao trying to trick Tao Yaoyao. Qin Benjao had been out on her own a long time ago, so she naturally knew the process. Although it is indeed a bit uncomfortable at first, you should always do these things by yourself, otherwise, how would you know so much? Tao Yao Yao smiled awkwardly, and then continued, this is my first time after all. If my sister doesn't take care of me, how will I know what to do? That's true. Qin Benjao nodded, okay, then I'll help you. Hearing Qin Benjao's words, Tao Yao Yao revealed a very proud smile. Very good, I have deceived Qin Benjao. So, Tao Yao Yao started to shout at Qin Benjao, Sister Benjao, I'm hungry, go find some food. Sister Benjao, I want to take a bath in this river. You can go look out for me. Sister Benjao, this ferocious beast is so ferocious. Go ahead and kill it. Tao Yao Yao was not polite to Qin Benjao at all. She wanted Qin Benjao to do everything. This was completely treating Qin Benjao as a maid. However, the result was beyond Tao Yao Yao's imagination. She never expected that such a cute fairy as Qin Benjao would not be fooled at all. Not only was she not fooled, Qin Benjao had already seen through her thoughts and calculations. Sister Yao Yao, shouldn't you do these things yourself? With a harmless smile on her face, Qin Benjao tilted her head and looked at Tao Yao Yao, you are already traveling outside, why do you, Sister Yao Yao, only want to find a maid for yourself? Sister, I am in the section when I was here, even my husband didn't dare to call me like this, do you think I'd rather do it? Sure enough, you have to do what you should do by yourself. Sister, I am still too doting on you. This is not good, very bad. Looking at Qin Benjao, who was harmless to humans and animals, Tao Yao Yao was so frightened that she shivered. It seemed like this was super scary. Although Qin Benjao is smiling, why does she always feel like she will kill her? Isn't this right? Is this still the cute Qin Benjao? How could she be so smart and dangerous? Then, under Qin Benjao's harmless smile, Tao Yao Yao immediately gave up. At this moment, the status is reversed. Hello, eldest sister. Tao Yao Yao immediately stood upright, with a well-behaved look, and decisively poured tea and water for Qin Benjao, prepared food, and then came behind Qin Benjao. She placed her slender hands on Qin Benjao's shoulders, kneading and serving her gently. Sister, does this feel appropriate? Tao Yao Yao asked softly with a flattering smile. After receiving Qin Benjao's affirmative answer, Tao Yao Yao breathed a sigh of relief and continued to express her loyalty and said, the eldest sister is right. I am now practicing for a career. I shouldn't go too far, it's so comfortable, so I shouldn't have to wait for the eldest sister to solve everything for me, I don't deserve to be served by the eldest sister. So, no matter what happens in the future, please leave it to me, sister-in-law. Don't pity me, sister-in-law. This is my experience. The more things sister-in-law gives me, the stronger my ability will be. Sister-in-law, it's for my own good, I know. Well, I guess you are aware. Qin Benjao nodded with satisfaction, while enjoying Tao Yao Yao's service, she was missing her husband in her heart. Counting the time, Sulang should have entered the dragon cave, right? I don't know when Sulang will come out of the dragon cave. I haven't seen you for a few days. I miss Sulang so much. Forget it, I'd better finish it as soon as possible. When it's over, I'll rush back to see Sulang as soon as possible. When I see Sulang this time, I must have an in-depth and simple exchange with Sulang and have a full meal. In the demonic dragon cave, Qin Benjao and Tao Yao Yao walked boredly in the dragon's cave. Many ferocious beasts passed by during the walk, but they could not stop them in the slightest. And just when the two of them had just finished killing a vicious beast, a beautiful figure of a witch walked out from behind the ferocious beast, came to the two of them, and called out intimately, "Thank you, sister. If it weren't for you, I'd probably be buried in the mouth of the ferocious beast. You are welcome. Qin Benjao shook her head, it's just a matter of convenience. Hearing this, the demon girl rolled her eyes and showed a warm smile, why don't you just let me follow my sister? With my own strength, I'm afraid I won't be able to leave the dragon cave alive. Okay, let's come together. It will be more lively when there are more people. Suliang nodded, not caring at all about the demon girl following him. Instead, he looked very happy and welcoming. Then, the demon girl successfully blended into the team of Qin Benjao and Tao Yao Yao. The three of them moved forward, chatting non-stop. The enchantress was extremely enthusiastic about Qin Benjao and Qin Benjao, the elder sister and the younger sister. It seemed that she really regarded Qin Benjao and Tao Yao Yao as sisters. However, suddenly, the demon girl didn't seem to pay attention. She stumbled and smoothly fell behind Qin Benjao and Tao Yao Yao. Immediately afterwards, taking advantage of this half-step behind, the demon girl's true energy suddenly burst out, the sharp blade unsheathed, and stabbed Qin Benjao in the back. While following Qin Benjao and Tao Yao Yao, she had found out clearly that among the two, Qin Benjao was the stronger one, and she was the leader. So, if you want to kill the stronger one first. But, just when the dagger in the demon girl's hand was about to touch Qin Benjao's figure suddenly disappeared. Before the enchantress could feel astonished interest, a huge and irresistible force came from her back. Boom! There was a muffled sound, and the demon girl was hammered to the ground. Even the hard ground of the dragon cave was shaken into a hole. Puff! The demon girl spurted out a mouthful of blood, and looked behind her with a trembling expression. Sure enough, she saw Qin Benjao standing behind her with a harmless smile on her face. How did you notice? The enchantress asked with a trembling voice. She really couldn't figure it out. Volume 1 Chapter 296 Does he look like a tyrant when he is so gentle? The surrendered witch. Qin Benjao did not answer the witch's words, but continued to smile with a harmless smile, and asked with some confusion, Hey, didn't you call me sister just now? Why are you suddenly attacking me? Hearing this, the enchantress almost cried. Is this girl really stupid or is she just pretending? He called her sister just to get close to her. He wanted to make her no longer wary of him so that he could take action. Do you really think I want to call you sister? How is that possible? And at this moment, looking at Qin Benjao's smiling face in front of her, a terrible rumor appeared in her mind. According to rumors, in the previous battle for the dragon mark, a smiling tyrant appeared in one area. The smiling tyrant is a very beautiful and pure woman, but this very beautiful woman is extremely powerful and always likes to beat others up with a smile. Could it be? The person in front of me is the rumored smiling tyrant? Wait, smile tyrant. The demon girl spoke with a trembling voice, her eyes rolled up, and she fainted from fright. Looking at this scene, Tao Yao Yao shook her head and clicked her tongue. As one of the demon girls, Tao Yao Yao really knows these devilish beauties very well. They are said to be proud girls, but each one of them is very cunning. On the surface, they may shout at you, but they will suddenly attack you. Seriously hurt or even kill you. For this kind of behavior, the devil's arrogant woman said that she would eradicate her competitors. Along the way, how many people did he and Qin Benjao encounter who wanted to eliminate their competitors? Too many to count. At this time, Qin Benjao on the side was still confused. Smiling tyrant? What is that? After solving the demon girl, Qin Benjao and Tao Yao Yao continued to move forward, and this time, Tao Yao Yao finally discovered that the cute fairy next to her looked cute, but was actually very tough. You two girls, please stop here. Two demonic heroes suddenly appeared and stood in front of Qin Benjao and Tao Yao Yao. There is no way ahead. if you two insist on moving forward. Halfway through the words, the proud man suddenly stopped talking, realized something, pointed at Qin Benjio, his body was trembling slightly. Wei, the smiling tyrant. The words just fell. Qin Benjio had already appeared in front of the two proud men, punching each one and knocking them to the ground. And this, Qin Benjio has already knocked down countless people. Along the way, every time Qin Benjio and Tao Yaoyao encountered someone blocking their way, Qin Benjio would always beat the opponent to pieces with his bare hands so easily and comfortably. It can be said that he was very fierce. Smiling tyrant. Qin Benjio scratched her head, a little confused. Who are they talking about? Then, before Tao Yaoyao could reply, Qin Benjio gave up thinking, forget it, ignore them, let's move on. So, the two continued to move forward, and this time, no one blocked the road for a long time. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 318. It's strange, why is no one blocking the way? Qin Benjio said with some doubts. Of course no one is coming. You have defeated every enemy with your bare hands along the way. Until now, no one even dares to come, okay. Tao Yaoyao felt that someone was peeping at them more than once, and it looked like they were trying to block the way. But each time, before she could tell Qin Benjio about the peeping person would say smiling tyrant in fear, and her head would turn upside down. The one who didn't come back ran away. Having walked all the way to now, Tao Yaoyao was completely confused. Qin Benjio should be a person of the righteous way. Even if she has been in the sect before, she is still a proud member of the small section. She should not be able to touch the circle of the sect's proud ones like them, and it is absolutely impossible to come into contact with the proud people of the demonic way. As for herself, as a proud son and a disciple of Dong Huang, the leader of Yin Yang Dao sect, Tao Yaoyao has long since lost count of how many geniuses she has defeated. But why is Qin Benjio's reputation even greater than his own? This is unreasonable. After thinking for a moment, Tao Yaoyao decided to ask, Sister Benjio, what is going on with this smiling tyrant? To be honest, she had never heard of Qin Benjio having such a nickname. This seems to be some powerful person. Qin Benjio replied, it is rumored that this strong man always likes to wear a harmless smile on his face and defeat his enemies cutely. Among the two prides of good and evil, few are her opponents. That's why, the name Smiling Tyrant. The harmless smile of humans and animals, the cute defeat of the enemy. Tao Yaoyao blinked and thought for a moment, isn't this how she describes Qin Benjio? I finally understand why Qin Benjio is so famous. Before the Dragon Cave, Qin Benjio had already scared the pride. No wonder, those who planned to block the road, after seeing the eldest sister's head, called the smiling demon lord and ran away. Tao Yaoyao said with a slight twitch in the corner of her mouth. She single-handedly beat many talented people to the point where they dared not face them. Qin Benjio is really powerful in every sense of the word. Moreover, judging from her previous reaction, it seems that she doesn't have the slightest bit of self-awareness. Hiss. Qin Benjio took a breath of air and pointed at herself in disbelief, smiling tyrant? Are you talking about me? No wonder, when Sulang talked about this matter before, Sulang had a strange expression. It turned out that the so-called smiling tyrant was talking about himself? Humph, if he is so gentle, how can he be a tyrant? Qin Benjio pouted and thought, stamping her feet angrily, scaring away a group of people who were peeping in the dark. Seeing this scene, Tao Yaoyao nodded numbly, but in her heart, she was already convinced by Qin Benjio. She suddenly felt that the person in front of her was the eldest sister worth pursuing. Although he is on the right path, he is not as pedantic as Mu Qingqian. Instead, he can be both black and white. He looks cute and innocent, and is very cute, but he has no limits on how he can deceive people and use various methods to trick people. Compared with Sister Benjeo, my previous self was really low. There is no comparison at all. Looking at Qin Benjeo, who was still pouting and puffing out her cheeks in anger, Tao Yao Yao's eyes shone with a light of admiration. In the Jendao Dragon Cave. After defeating Luck Pixiu, Sul Yang, Mu Qingqian, and Zhenzi continued to go deeper. After a long time, they finally reached the deepest part of the Dragon Cave. Is this the deepest part of the Dragon Cave? Mu Qingqian looked at the huge space around him, stretched out his hand, grabbed a handful of the air in front of him, and after sensing it carefully, he said, "There is quite a lot of dragon energy here, and it can't be compared to the ones outside, but, it's really where did the dragon go?" Looking at everything around him, Sul Yangzhong was also thinking about this issue. Although the space here is vast and empty, it is unobstructed and has an unobstructed view. It stands to reason that a real dragon cannot be hidden at all. Is it because the real dragon hasn't come out yet, or, there is no real dragon here at all? Probably not. While Sul Yang and the others were thinking, other righteous geniuses also arrived here one after another. Just when the number of geniuses is gradually increasing. Boom! The ground shook, the earth cracked, and gravel fell from above. Many geniuses fell to the ground without noticing, and the rest could not stand firm. And then, roar! A dragon roar sounded, and in the deepest part of this space, the real dragon figure was looming. The real dragon appears from the dragon cave. The huge dragon body is almost invisible at a glance. As the dragon body hovers, there are waves of shocking dragon power, carrying luck and radiating out. People can't help but be frightened and kneel down. Fall on the spot. Next moment, the real dragon just soared into the sky, flew into the sky, roared, and the dragon's roar shook the 9 heavens. The dragon's roar, carrying the rolling dragon power, descended from the sky and oppressed him. In an instant, countless geniuses could not resist it, and they knelt down on the ground, their bodies trembling. The real dragon appears. I don't know who shouted, causing everyone to recover from the threat of the real dragon's appearance. Immediately afterwards, the eyes of everyone looking at the real dragon became hot. Although the real dragon in the dragon cave is transformed by luck, it is almost the same as the real dragon. It is very solid. Every part of the real dragon's body is filled with treasures, especially the dragon beads, which are the goals that everyone must fight for. As long as this real dragon can be killed. Thinking in their hearts, all the proud men showed excited smiles and were already about to take action. Be careful. Sul Yang took Mu Qingqian and Zhenzi back a little, and said cautiously, the true dragon's strength is unknown, but if you think about it, you know that it must be unusually powerful, and it is definitely not a match for the likes of us. So, let them test it out first, and then we'll look for an opportunity to take action. Good. Mu Qingqian nodded without any intention of refuting Sul Yang. To them, these proud men are all enemies. When fighting without knowing the depth of each other, it is reasonable to let the enemy test them first. Mu Qingqian thinks it is okay. Then, Sul Yang and the other 3 watched with vigilance, and all the geniuses used their methods to rush towards the real dragon. But just when a group of geniuses approached the real dragon, roar! The real dragon roared again, and the dragon's roar carried great power, reaching people's hearts and captivating them. The geniuses flying into the sky couldn't control their escape skills and began to stagger, almost falling down. And the next moment, the real dragon suddenly flicked its tail. It was just a simple sweep. It was so powerful that it was thrown directly onto the stone wall very far away, causing the stone wall to tremble and collapse. And those geniuses who rushed forward were easily defeated by the true dragon's sweep. They fell from the sky like dumplings one after another. They screamed and vomited blood. When they looked at it again, they were already seriously injured. See this. Whether it was Suliang or the proud men like Suliang who stayed behind to wait for others to test them, their expressions all became solemn. This real dragon is so terrifying and invincible that it cannot be easily defeated by one person. Everyone, please join forces to fight against the enemy. The powerful strength of the real dragon forced Suliang to join forces to slay the dragon. He looked at the people around him who were watching the battle with vigilance and solemnity, and his voice was a little deeper. The strength of the real dragon is obvious. It is definitely not something you and I can deal with easily. If you continue to think of picking up the slack, or waiting for others to consume the true dragon's strength, in the end, I'm afraid everything will be in vain. After hearing this, Mu Qingqian took a step forward and stood next to Suliang. Senior brother Su, I'm here to help you. The Holy Sun also took a step forward and stood beside Mu Qingqian. Qingqian, don't be afraid, I, the Holy Sun, will help you. Seeing that the goddess Mu Qingqian and the Holy Sun had already expressed their stance, the others looked at each other, nodded, and agreed, work together to slay the dragon. As the pride and the top group, they are not stupid people. The strength of the real dragon has far exceeded their limit. Those who still have the idea of picking up the slack at this time are probably out of their minds. Let's take action together. Suliang gave a deep shout, and the long sword suddenly unsheathed. After a little bit of energy, a sword light slashed towards the real dragon in the sky. Immediately afterwards, hundreds of sword energy condensed from behind Suliang, and the returning energy of the Sea of Underworld circulated. The sword energy carried the sharp sword intention of the sword without regrets, and bombarded the real dragon like a fort. Immediately, it triggered a roar and explosion, and the scene was very spectacular. Suliang's action seemed to be a signal. At the same time, a group of geniuses who still retained their strength took action at the same time, using their own methods to attack the real dragon. This moment, the magic and martial arts that filled the sky were like an unavoidable light curtain. In an instant, it turned into a roaring and exploding light, submerging the real dragon and making its figure invisible again. But even so, the geniuses did not relax. One after another the escaping light flashed. The geniuses all flew into the sky, approached the real dragon, and used various methods. And in this, Suliang's sword light is particularly outstanding. Although it was just a flash of sword light, Suliang's sword light contained the soaring sword intent of the sword without regrets. This sword intent was so sharp that it seemed as if the sky was about to be split. The sword intent is attached to the sword light, and each sword light can cut a huge scar on the real dragon's body, causing the real dragon to scream in pain and keep struggling. This is something that other geniuses cannot do no matter what. And just when Suliang was fighting vigorously, on the other side, Mu Qingqian and Zhenzi cooperated tacitly. The two of them were making moves, one after the other. Between the swords, the attacks continued one after another. You attacked and I defended, without any gaps. This scene was really picturesque. Not long after, the Holy Sun brought Mu Qingqian closer to Suliang and showed off, "Hey, Suliang, did you see it? The cooperation between this Holy Sun and Qingqian is not weaker than yours." Hearing this, Suliang turned his head and looked at the scene of the Holy Sun and Mu Qingqian cooperating, quite speechless. "You, a woman, are so hostile to me, and you still compare and fuss with me. You make me totally confused about what to say. It's just a coordination. Is it such a comparison?" After a long time, above the sky, on the huge dragon body of the true dragon, there are already scars and blood stains. Roar. With a feeble roar, the real dragon swung its tail again, but compared to the previous attack, this time's attack no longer had much power. See this. The eyes of all the geniuses shone brightly. After grinding for so long, this real dragon is finally about to be killed. Finally. One sword, no regrets. Suliang's figure suddenly appeared above the real dragon. He raised his long sword, and while he was chanting softly, a sword light with a sharp sword intent suddenly slashed out from Suliang's hand. Buzz. Volume 1 # Chapter 297 Killing the Real Dragon, the Dragon Ball belongs to it. The moment the sword light appeared, it was like the return of thousands of swords to the clan. The weapons in the hands of all the proud men present buzzed and trembled. It seemed that even the weapons were surrendered to this regretless sword intention. The proud men also stared at Suliang with solemn expressions. In this sword, they felt the crisis of death. Next moment. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 319. The sword light spread across all directions, cutting through all obstacles and hitting the real dragon's head. Roar. The dragon roared again, and the real dragon struggled feebly. With the blood spraying out from its neck, which was shining with golden light, its body fell weakly from the sky. Boom. The real dragon fell to the ground, like a meteorite falling to the ground, shattering the earth into pieces and emitting bursts of smoke. At this moment, it was as if heaven and earth were mourning. Through the smoke and dust blockage, everyone could clearly feel that there was no life left in the dragon body. So, the real dragon was killed. At this moment, all the proud men followed the real dragon to the ground, but they were wary of each other. No one dared to act rashly. The real dragon is dead. It stands to reason that all parts of the real dragon's body are treasures, and every part taken back will be of great use. However, what these top geniuses value is obviously not the real dragon's body. What they want is the dragon balls. The true dragon ball, the proof of destiny, is mysterious and unpredictable, but it is something that must be obtained. Although everyone at this moment had just experienced a difficult battle, at this moment, they all began to try their best to adjust their breath and restore their condition. The current silence is only temporary. As long as there is a little movement, the fuse will be lit instantly, causing everyone present to have a shocking war. And at this delicate time, boom! A muffled sound suddenly came out, and a dragon ball with a faint light burst out of the real dragon's body, and then floated away in the air. The dragon ball appears, don't let it escape. One person shouted, and the next moment, all the talented people present took action at the same time. But their target is not Dragon Ball. They are all geniuses, and they know very well that the war has just begun, and the outcome is still unknown. Now that the Dragon Ball is obtained, not only will it not be a foregone conclusion, but it will be extremely hot, causing everyone to besieged. So, kill your opponent first and then talk. Then, a battle that was far larger than the previous dragon-slaying war, and even more anxious than the dragon-slaying war, suddenly broke out. But at the beginning of the battle, 90% of the geniuses knew that they were not strong enough, so they took a step back, withdrew from the fighting circle, and took the initiative to give in. They know in their hearts that even though their strength is not weak, they are really not the top among this group of geniuses. If they join the battle rashly, they may end up with death. It is better to retreat and still be able to survive. Save your life. But the remaining top geniuses still want to try and obtain the so-called proof of destiny. However, at the moment when the battle broke out, Suliang and Mu Qingqian became the competition targets of the geniuses, and were the first to be besieged by them. Sure enough, did your strength show too much just now? Suliang chuckled lightly, not caring about the siege of the geniuses at all, and slashed out with one sword, cutting away the martial arts all over the sky. Suliang laughed loudly, full of pride, "Come on, let me see, you guys, how powerful is the so-called genius." But right now, a cold light suddenly appeared from behind Suliang. Immediately, A cold and arrogant beautiful girl suddenly appeared behind Suliang, stabbing Suliang in the mouth with the short blade in her hand. Obviously, she planned to take the lead and attack Suliang. The timing of Len Ao's beautiful girl's attack was very subtle. It happened to be at the stage when Suliang's sword was slashed, the old power had been released, and new power was difficult to generate. Coupled with Len Ao's beautiful girl's weird secret hiding skills, she was very confident that with this sword strike, Suliang must die. However, even when the short blade in the hand of the cold and proud girl was about to come into contact with Suliang, Suliang followed the remaining momentum of the sword, turned around suddenly, and swept across with the sword. Ding! A sound of metal and metal mingled, and the cold and proud girl froze. The next moment, she vomited blood and flew backwards. She looked in disbelief at Suliang, who turned around to deal with other enemies. The hand that still held the short blade had gone limp, and the bones inside were broken. How could he be so strong? He had already calculated all the possibilities and struck out with a sure whining sword, but he actually only used the remaining force after slashing with the sword to seriously injure himself. What a powerful strength this is! Landing firmly on the ground, the cold and arrogant beautiful girl looked at her broken arm and quit the battle without saying a word. There were all top geniuses present, and no one was weaker than the other. The bones in her dominant hand were broken. If she participated in the battle again, she would only be seeking death. Submerged in the crowd, sword light appeared next to Suliang, flashing vertically and horizontally, bombarding him like a fort, and in an instant, he knocked all the geniuses to the ground. Who else wants to challenge me? The tip of the sword pointed diagonally at the ground. Suliang looked calm, and the pressure on his body that far exceeded the dragon transformation realm kept rolling and boiling. After looking at the geniuses who were knocked to the ground, and then at the demon like Suliang, the geniuses fell silent. They did know that Suliang was strong, but they didn't expect that Suliang could be so strong. With his own strength, he could fight against countless geniuses without falling behind, and even injure countless people with just a single move. This gap in strength is really too big, and it is difficult for them to have the courage to challenge. It's good to have confidence, but if you still fight when you know you can't beat someone, that's a pure fool. But just when the geniuses hesitated to move forward, a cold and confident voice sounded, "I'll do it." Immediately afterwards, under the gaze of all the geniuses, the holy sun flew from outside the crowd and struck Suliang with a palm. The palm was so powerful that it was difficult to resist. Sure enough, I still have to fight with her in the end. Looking at the holy sun who was attacking him with a cold expression, Suliang sighed and raised his sword to fight. To be fair, Suliang felt that if others fought with him, it would be for the sake of the Dragon Ball at most, without any personal feelings involved. But if the holy sun fights with him, then it will be more or less a personal grudge. After all, Suliang remembered clearly that because of Mu Qingqian, the holy sun did not like him, not just once or twice. Moreover, if you don't count these things, Suliang can also see that when the holy sun hits him, the palm wind is far superior to that of others. Suliang can also see that this holy sun is bent on killing him. After sighing in melancholy for a moment, Suliang became serious and used all kinds of methods. As a Taoist saint, she has the top combat power among the contemporary geniuses, and is simply not comparable to other so-called geniuses. Facing such an enemy, if Suliang is still careless, he will probably lose miserably. Then, Volume 1 Chapter 298, Exuding Flattery, the aureole appears, trying to refine the whole audience. The two who are the top among the contemporary geniuses are clashing at this moment. The two of them were going back and forth, their swords blazing and the wind whistling from their palms. While they were evenly matched, they actually formed a restricted area around them. Anyone whose strength is lower than the two of them, as long as they get close, will probably die in an instant in the evenly matched confrontation between the two. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the talented people watching around them jumped. Forget about the Holy Sun, as they are both righteous geniuses, they naturally know the Holy Sun's reputation, and many of them have even been beaten by the Holy Sun. They are not surprised by the Holy Sun's superb strength. But Sul Yang, a little-known figure before, was actually as powerful as the Holy Sun. This is simply outrageous. Where did this Sul Yang come from? How could he be so powerful? And just when everyone kept marveling, base, Sul Yang slashed out with a sword light, and while the Holy Sun was dodging, it happened to pass through the crown of the Holy Sun's head. Moment. The Holy Sun's long hair was messy. The hair fell down and floated beside her with the movements of the Holy Sun, covering some of her face. And it is this loose hair that makes the Holy Sun less heroic when she is disguised as a man, and more soft and delicate. From a fake young man with red lips and white teeth to a beautiful lady, there is only one process of losing his hair. At this moment, the Holy Sun's already beautiful face, coupled with her cold, arrogant, and confident temperament, and the beautiful scene with her hair scattered, instantly attracted the attention of everyone present. No matter whether they were men or women, they were all staring at the Holy Sun intently, feeling quite moved. Even Sul Yang was stunned for a moment when he saw the Holy Sun transformed into a beautiful lady, and subconsciously praised, "Actually, you look better now, so why don't you wear men's clothes and tie your hair?" However, Sul Yang didn't expect that the words of praise he subconsciously spoke would actually make the Holy Sun angry. "Humph, you are a prodigal, seeking death." The beautiful face of the Holy Sun immediately became gloomy, and then, the already strong and fierce temperament of the Holy Sun suddenly rose and became even more fierce. Not only that, she also used all her strength in her attacks, hitting Sul Yang's vital points with every move, but she didn't pay any attention to Sul Yang's moves. Facing the Holy Sun's attack, Sul Yang was very confused. "It's not that serious. Didn't I just praise you? Why are you so desperate? There should be no problem with my praise." Along the way, Sul Yang felt that he and Zhenzi had developed some friendship. Although they were not on good terms, they wouldn't be fighting each other. At this time, not far away, in the battle circle where Mu Qingqian was fighting for the Dragon Ball, the fighting suddenly stopped. Sul Yang turned around and saw Mu Qingqian standing among a group of talented people who were beaten and scared. She was surrounded by talented people who had been knocked down by her. At this moment, she was holding a Dragon Ball in her hand, and the sword in her hand was pointed at the ground. Her pretty face was full of aloofness and dignity, and her voice was cold. "The Dragon Ball is in my hand, who else wants to fight with me?" The words fell, but no one dared to move. The goddess is worthy of being a goddess, her cultivation is strong, and her strength is rarely matched by anyone. Even these top-notch geniuses are no match for her. From the moment Mu Qingqian got the Dragon Ball, they knew that there was no way they could take it back. In this case, there is no need to fight. Then, the Dragon Ball, whose ownership was determined, was captured by Mu Qingqian. See this. Sul Yang blocked the Holy Sun's move, stepped back, sheathed his sword, put his hands behind his back, shook his head and said, "Since Qingqian has obtained the Dragon Ball, there is no need for you and me to fight." Snort. Shenzi snorted, but Sul Yang didn't fight back, so she couldn't continue to take action, so she could only glare at Sul Yang hatefully, put away her fighting posture, and turned around to look for Mu Qingqian. "Call." Sul Yang took a deep breath and sat on the ground regardless of his appearance. After entering the dragon cave, he first fought the ferocious beast, then the Pixiu, and then the real dragon and Tian Xiao. Finally, he even fought with the Holy Sun. Although the fight was very enjoyable, it was also really tiring. Let's take a break and talk about other things. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 320. The other geniuses, whether they were in good health or seriously injured, were sitting on the ground like Suliang, planning to rest for a while. After a while, all the geniuses felt that their physical strength had recovered somewhat, so they struggled to stand up, called their friends, and planned to leave the dragon cave after carving up the real dragon. But right now, someone said in shock, "What's going on? Why do you feel like, I can't get out of this dragon cave?" Everyone followed the sound and saw at a glance the stunned Tianjiao standing at the exit of the dragon cave, but unable to take another step forward. How can it be? The other person didn't believe it and walked towards the exit of the dragon cave. But as soon as he reached the person who spoke before, he seemed to have hit some transparent barrier and could no longer move forward. What's going on? The man reached out and touched, only to feel that there was a transparent barrier in front of him, which was obviously empty, and was indestructible, trapping everyone inside. It seems like, I really can't get out. Suliang frowned slightly, stood up, walked to Mu Qingqian and Zhenzi, and asked softly, "Do you know what is going on?" Zhenzi and Mu Qingqian both shook their heads. Obviously, they didn't know what was happening now. Seeing the two people expressing their opinions like this, Suliang frowned even more tightly. He already had a premonition in his heart that something might happen to this dragon cave. And the moment Suliang's thoughts arose, a strange wave rose from the ground below everyone. Is this formation fluctuation? Mu Qingqian sensed it and said a little strangely, "It's strange. The battle in the dragon cave is over. Why is there still a formation activated? And why do I feel that it is a little hot in the dragon cave?" After hearing this, Suliang also closed his eyes and felt it in detail. Sure enough, he found that the temperature in this dragon cave was indeed rising. Immortal cultivators are inherently invulnerable to cold and heat, but with Suliang's level of cultivation, there is nothing he can do about Li Huo, but it can make them feel the heat. I'm afraid even the rocks can melt. If it weren't for the strange material of the stone walls in this dragon cave, the entire dragon cave would have melted. What happened? One Tianjiao stood up and asked with a confused expression, "I remember, there seems to be no formation in the dragon cave, ah." Before the man could finish his words, suddenly there was a burst of flames rising from the ground. In an instant, it swallowed the man and burned his body. And as the fire burned, the body of this genius gradually withered, as if something was being refined out of his body. See this. The Holy Son's expression changed slightly, and he blurted out, 10,000 fires and hundreds of refining formation. How can it be? Mu Qingqian's always aloof and sacred face was a little shocked after hearing the Holy Son's words. Isn't the 10,000 fire hundred refining array refining the formations existing in it? How could it be arranged in the dragon cave? 10,000 fires and hundreds of refining formation, as the name suggests, uses the formation method to stir up all the fires and refine the things in it. This formation is overbearing and powerful. As long as there is a being in the formation, no matter what the cultivation level or grade is, as long as there is enough time, it can be refined by 10,000 fires and turned into nothingness. Moreover, the 10,000 fire hundred refining formation is extremely strong, especially the inside. Perhaps the person who created the formation was worried about the refining things in the formation breaking out. Therefore, without extremely strong power, it would be difficult to break the formation from the inside. At this moment, Suliang and other geniuses are still in the formation. That is to say, Suliang said with a slightly solemn expression, there are actually people setting up formations in the dragon cave to refine the real dragon, along with all the geniuses here. After hearing this, everyone present was shocked. Outside the dragon cave, murderous intent is also hidden at this moment. A mysterious black shadow stood at the exit of the dragon cave, sensing the chaos and fear in the dragon cave, with a smile on its lips. With the 10,000 fires and hundreds of refining formation inside, and the surviving geniuses from my ambush outside, I think about it, none of these righteous geniuses can escape. Oh, those righteous big shots would never have thought that they would kill the proud ones and kill the true dragons in their hands, but we could wait outside and benefit from it, refining all the true dragons and the proud ones in one fell swoop. In this case, the so-called fairness of the heavenly demonstration dragon war should be gone. Listening to what this mysterious black shadow said, someone is actually lurking outside, acting without martial ethics, destroying the fairness of the Tianzhen dragon war, and refining the real dragon and a group of geniuses, and the fishermen will benefit. If this method is really successful, almost all the top geniuses of the righteous path will be lost. This is a huge loss that the righteous path cannot afford. What is the origin of this mysterious black shadow that is so bold and dares to do such a big thing that can make Gendeo crazy? Could it be that it's the devil's way? Or is it one of our own people within the righteous path? Or in the dragon cave? Time passed quickly. When the 10,000 fire 100 refining formation just started, the temperature only increased, and small flames shot up from the ground into the sky, burning the beings standing on the ground. Now that the formation has been activated, almost the entire dragon cave is filled with flames. The sea of fire burns the city. Special flames emitting all kinds of strange brilliance rise into the sky and burn everything on the earth. Gradually, the floor and walls of this dragon cave actually felt like they were melting. And these are nothing short of an unprecedented crisis for the geniuses among them. At this moment, countless geniuses were swallowed up by the flames. They didn't even have time to scream, and were burned to ashes and refining the formation. The remaining top geniuses were all covered in sweat, unable to resist the rising and intense heat. They could not even stand still. They could only rely on their own reactions and luck to continuously dodge the flames rising from the ground to the sky. What should I do? Someone shouted miserably, with a look of despair on his face, how to break this formation. But after he finished speaking for a long time, no one answered him. No one knows how to break this formation. Living in the flames of the formation, the geniuses naturally would not sit still and wait for death. From the beginning, they used various methods, but in the end, these methods were all like a mud cow sinking into the sea, unable to overturn any storms, and all of them were ineffective. Up to now, the surging true energy in their bodies has been exhausted just to protect themselves against the flames. How can they still have the energy to do other things? Everyone is already powerless. Just resisting the sea of fire, they are already exhausted. They do not know the details of the formation, do not know the methods of the formation, and their cultivation strength and attack power are not enough. It is even more difficult to break the formation. At this time, someone else said, "Your sect should have left you many means of protection. Why, it has reached this point, why don't you still use it?" As soon as he finished speaking, someone said, "Because of the suppression of this formation, the means of protection left to us by our sect are all useless here. Not to mention using means to protect oneself, even activating these means is very difficult. Even if a few people activate the protective means, the true spiritual energy that constitutes the power of protection is refined in the blink of an eye. Without the support of the true spiritual energy, these protective means will naturally dissipate." After hearing this, seeing that all methods were useless, and that he could not hold on for much longer, he might die in the dragon cave soon, a feeling of extreme despair permeated these geniuses. You are all the proud sons and geniuses of heaven. Usually in the sect, you have countless resources and are highly respected and valued. Everyone is extremely arrogant and looks forward to the day when you will be proud of the world. You will never lack the spirit of invincibility, no matter how strong you are. The enemy dares to fight. But now, are you going to die meaninglessly in this dragon cave? The geniuses thought in their hearts, looking at the raging flames burning the city around them, they felt helpless in their hearts, and almost no longer even thought about resisting. And at this critical moment, Do not give up. The Holy Sun extinguished a ball of flames with one palm, and encouraged in a deep voice, "We are all the proud sons of the section. We have practiced hard for more than 10 years. We have cultivated to master the profound knowledge, and we are enough to stand proudly in the world. Sooner or later, it is not a bad idea to become invincible in the world. How can we die here, in such an unclear and meaningless death? Despair? What does it matter? Have you and I encountered so-called desperate situations over the years of cultivation? Have we not encountered enough? If you encounter a desperate situation, then smash it. God wants me to die, but I want to survive. If I don't have such a state of mind, how can we be worthy of being invincible in the world? How can we be worthy of being the so-called genius?" The words fell. The Holy Sun looked towards the direction of the exit of the dragon cave and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, follow me to attack. It's just a way to break the formation. Let's work together to break it and break out." Hearing this, Tian Xiao, who was originally filled with despair, all his eyes shone with light. "Yes, the matter is not at its final stage yet. How can I give in and wait for death at this time? What a bullshit desperate situation. Watch me break through the desperate situation and rise from the ashes. Kill!" The Holy Sun shouted low, and moved quickly. In an instant, he appeared at the exit of the dragon cave, and then punched towards the invisible barrier. Boom. Volume 1 Chapter 299, All living beings are in despair, but I can break the formation with one sword. With one punch, the barrier remained intact. But it doesn't matter. Soon, the Holy Sun punched out the second time, and then came the punches one after another without stopping at all. See this? All the geniuses looked at each other and nodded. Then, they also followed the Holy Sun and charged forward. Even if they squeezed out the last bit of true energy in their bodies, they still had to use their own methods of pressing the bottom of the box to bombard the invisible wall. Barrier. Looking at this scene, Suliang nodded in agreement. He didn't lose hope in a desperate situation and was able to lead the crowd to break out. This Holy Sun has quite a charm. She is worthy of the name of the Holy Sun. And just then, Suliang suddenly felt a throbbing sensation in his body. He frowned and his mind sank into his body. After sensing it for a moment, his expression revealed a hint of surprise. Seeing the change in Suliang's expression, Mu Qingqian asked with concern, "Senior brother Su, what's wrong with you?" Shaking his head, Suliang stretched out his hand and held it towards the sky-shaking flame in front of him. Next, as Suliang's spirit moved slightly, the flame became much smaller and even changed its direction. See this? Suliang's face showed a hint of surprise. Sure enough, it is so. Maybe there is hope of getting out? Just now, what Suliang noticed was the natural throbbing of Taoism in his body. And after this throbbing, he had a vague feeling that he seemed to be able to control the flame and turn it to his own use. After trying it for a while, the facts just verified Suliang's conjecture. If he could control all the flames and use them to attack the formation, perhaps, this formation can really be broken. But this method has a huge drawback. Suliang can indeed control flames, but it takes a huge amount of mental effort, and it will take some time to control it. Having said that, this is his only option. After thinking for a moment, Suliang said, "Junior sister Mu, protect me." After saying this, Suliang closed his eyes and controlled the flame with all his strength. The Dao method was naturally driven with all his strength. Suliang could no longer care about the consumption of mental energy at this moment, and tried his best to control the flames in the formation as soon as possible. The energy consumed can be replenished later. Even if the foundation is damaged, there will be ways to replenish it later, but if you die here, everything will be over. However, as Suliang controlled the flames, the mental drain involved was still far beyond Suliang's imagination.